E- uh, yeah? Mm. You can keep going, isn't that fun? Um, and for the first time in almost 4 months, I felt like the whole world was twisting. Who was it? Who had changed the world line? I didn't do anything. I hadn't interfered with the world. So why was I... Blah, 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 blah. So why was the world doing this to me? Hello? I opened my eyes. Things had already taken on different colors. The world kept wavering, until once again, it became fixed to a single point in time. I wasn't looking at a warm, cheerful party in the lab anymore. I was outside. It was raining. The rain was falling on my face, and drops so large that it hurt. It was a midwinter rain. It was freezing cold, and I could feel it sapping the strength from my body. My view stopped twisting. I was staring at the broad back of a man I didn't know. I could hear the sound of many boots stamping through the mud, mingling with falling rain. He is indeed going through it. The stench was terrible. The smell of sewage was so strong it hurt to breathe, and it was mixed with the awful smell of burning rubber and plastic. Where was I? What was I doing right now? Things around me had changed so much. I tried to understand the situation I was in, but my brain was having an awful time keeping up. We're almost there. Hang in there. When I stopped, a rough hand patted me on the shoulder encouragingly. I looked around to see a man my age, with a strong, powerful face. It was a face I'd never seen. I didn't know him, probably. The man was wearing the camo outfit and equipment I'd often seen the self-defense force wear on the news. He was carrying an assault rifle on his shoulder. There were 7 or 8 people around me, all dressed the same. They surrounded me in the circular formation and walked forward silently, as they kept a careful eye on the area around them. Are these people the self-defense force? And then I realized I was wearing the same camo uniform they were. I'm in the SDF too? I touched my bicep to check, but there was no muscle. It was flabby and weak, unlike the others. I wasn't carrying any weapons. Then what was going on here? It felt like these 7 or 8 tough-looking SDF guys who were all guarding me. Since when was I that important? Still confused, I dragged myself onwards. Where was I anyway? It was a long path filled with dark brown mud. The walls formed a tall silhouette to the left and right. The path was filled with garbage and concrete rubble, and sometimes we had to force our way past it. I looked up past the high walls. Despite the rain, the moon in the night sky was strangely red and a little too bright. It was thanks to the moon that we were able to walk down a path like this without flashlights. Huh? Sound. I heard a sound. It was the sound of water. I looked over and saw a hole opened in one of the walls. Filthy water was pouring out. The water formed dozens of little rivers that blocked our path. So that was it. This is the bottom of a river that had dried up. It looked like high walls, so were the river dikes. Where are we? I turned toward the man who had spoken to me a bit ago, and yelled so that my voice could be heard over the rain. Shh. Don't make any loud noises. Oh, sorry. We're almost through the city center. If you can make it to Nermia Garrison, there'll be a car waiting for you, so just keep walking. But his words cut off there. Everyone seemed more tense than ever. One of them grabbed me and pushed me toward the side of the riverbed. Everyone put their backs against the wall and held their breath. I could hear the sound of the helicopter's rotors in the distance. Yeah, that's what my reaction was upon seeing the scene. No, more than just one. They were getting closer. I wish I knew what was going on Mars, but I have no clue. I had no idea what was going on, but I could feel my heart start to beat faster. Got in the shadow of that car. Past several meters of past several meters of rubble lay an overturned car. It must have fallen into the riverbed after the water had disappeared. The entire body was bent inward, and the roof was completely crushed. I lay down in the stinking mud and slid into the shadow of the overturned car. At the same time, the SDF soldiers were issuing each other orders, as if this was something they'd planned for already. Two of them stayed by my side, and everyone else ran back the way we'd come. They all climbed up crevices and outcroppings on the wall, then disappeared over the edge of the dike and out of my view. Shortly after, those were gunshots, and not just a single shot from a handgun or anything like that. This was the sound of war. I could hear the helicopters get further away, drawn by the gunfire. Oh no. On this world line, was Japan at war? The Third World War. I remember Suzuha's words. I happened to look inside the crushed car. I could see the corpses of a man, a woman, and a small child hanging upside down, still attached to their seat belts. They were all covered in dried black blood. They looked like mannequins at a bad haunted house. And then I realized. I'd been so focused on moving forward that I hadn't noticed that they were, but I'd seen similar mannequins sunk into the mud. I could see their arms, the bones and ragged muscle exposed to the air, reaching up to the sky as if seeking salvation. I put my hand over my mouth to stifle a scream. Those weren't mannequins. Now, get along the side of the wall and move. Huh? We're changing the route. Come on, stand up. He pulled me up. My knees were shaking from shock and exhaustion. The others are drawing away the Soviet helicopters, but that won't last long. Hurry. The Soviet Union? You give me a lot of credit for accepting all those names. I can at least do my best. If anything, I feel bad for the ones that I wasn't really able to say, or at least I don't think I said right. Because, like, you know, respect reasons, but, you know, I'll at least try my best, even if my best is not very good, you know? My mind was dulled from the terror, but it seemed like there was something off about what he just said. Get a hold of yourself. Do you know how many people have died to protect you? Protect me? Why? We haven't been told why, but we were told to lay down our lives for you if we had to, and that you could change this country's future. A helicopter passed over the riverbed. The bright searchlight passed by for a moment, but thankfully, the shadow of the dike hit us. This way. The young SDF soldier, whose name I didn't even know, pulled me inside one of the holes in the concrete. When I looked closely, I could see that it was the entrance to a sewer. It was just big enough for a single person to pass through. Struggling against the flow of water that came up to my knees, I pressed on through the darkness. The darkness. My sense of smell had already gone numb, so I didn't have to worry about the stench of the sewage. Once inside, we came to several branching paths. Hello, darkness, my old friend. So true. The SDF soldiers seemed to know which one would lead where, and they marched on without hesitation. And then we came out of the sewer and back into a riverbed. It was dried up, just like the one we'd been through. I don't know if it was the same river or another one, and the two soldiers didn't tell me. Either way, I was glad to be finally out of the foul-smelling darkness, and I tried to take a deep breath and fill my lungs with fresh air. But halfway through, I realized that the riverbed smelled even worse than the sewer. I took an involuntary step back and then another. The sign in front of me was just that terrible. What was once a riverbed was now filled with bodies. Some of them had been burnt totally black, so it was impossible to tell how much death lay before me. And in the distance, I could see what looked like bonfires. They were burning good despite the rain. The fires were consuming the mountains of flesh that once were human bodies. We're almost there. I know it's rough, but can you run? Huh? Yeah. The SDF soldier spoke to me, and then I came back to my senses. If it weren't for these two, I wouldn't have been able to stay sane. We ran through the riverbed, one of them in front of me, the other behind. I could hear the constant drone of the helicopters above me. Sometimes the searchlights got very close. Each time they did, I hid in the piles of bodies until they passed. I'd seen this many times before as I wandered through the world lines. I'd seen death. I'd seen the moments when people had died. But at the same time, I never experienced what happened to a dead person after they were left out for a long time. More than fear, more than sorrow, the thing that hit me first was the smell of death. The rotting stench ate away at my body, not my soul. My whole body was rejecting it. It made me feel sick. Thinking that way meant trampling on the dignity of the dead, but I couldn't help it. The Valley of Hinnon. I remembered that phrase. That was what that strange detector had said that night, when they came after Dr. Luxnin, Maho and me. It is better for you to enter life with one eye than to have two eyes and be thrown into the Valley of Hinnon. That valley was the origin of the word Gena, meaning hell. It was said that flames burned there every night, scorching the heavens themselves. Those who died merciless deaths, so with anger or misery in their hearts, were flung into the flames, their souls becoming black smoke that rained hatred down on the land. What I stared at now was Gena. Yeah, biblical reference stuff, very exciting, fun times. The two soldiers led me to a half-collapsed subway tunnel. The lights were all off because there was no electricity, but there were 3 armored cars in camo colors with their headlights on to illuminate the way. There were 4-wheel drive, off-road vehicles covered in thick chunks of armor, but I didn't see any real weapons. You can take the subway route to escape to Saitama. I hear it's still safe at Iruma base. If you can get that far, you should be able to escape Kanto. Escape Kanto? Ask them about it. For now, just hurry. There were a lot of things I wanted to ask, but even as we spoke, I heard what sounded like gunshots outside the tunnel. The men forced me into the back seat of one of the cars. Goodbye. I'll be praying for your safety. What? What about you guys? We have another mission to carry out. Farewell. The 2 soldiers who had brought me here saluted, then turned around and left the station. I felt like I was never going to see them again. The door of the armored car slammed shut with a heavy thud. The car's crew were SDF soldiers, just a little older than me. The diesel engine kicked to life, and the car raced down a tunnel that had originally been designed for trains. Of course it wasn't a pleasant ride at all, but I didn't have any choice. There was no way I could tell them I wanted to go to Akihabara. I had no way to alter the world line. I had to survive in this hellish world. And to survive, I needed to do what they said. My wants didn't matter at all. I wasn't even allowed to express them. I just did as they told me and ran. I didn't mean to hit escape, no. I just wanted to grab my little note to check things, Jesus. It was all I could do. But I had no idea that it would take an entire month. Ugh. Hello? Forum? Anonymous let security cancel. The story so far. The USSR starts experimenting with the time machine. America goes apeshit. Give me that time machine, USSR. But I refuse. Eastern powers and Soviets get cocky. How's it feel to be How's it feel to you be right now, huh? How's it feel? Okay. Yeah, escape key jump scare. This brings us to the end of your regularly scheduled Cold War. US. I'm gonna bomb you from Japan. USSR. Then we'll invade Japan. Us. Oh shit, right now. USSR is kicking ass. Hokkaido and any Japan are screwed. Are they coming for Central Japan now? People of Nagoya, get the fuck out. Amateurs who know nothing about strategy need to shut the fuck up. The SDF may look like they're retreating, but they've actually got a defense line at Mount Fuji. They're about to start a counterattack. Ugh. The Mount Fuji line. Who the hell's dumb enough to believe Japanese Imperial High Command? We better not start hearing calls for kamikaze pilots soon. Shut up, noob. It is like, you are the real threat to Japan. Wait, what the hell happened to the collective right of self-defense? America's only interested in protecting Okinawa. So what the hell's the SDF doing getting sent off to Siberia? Yeah, whatever, I said it right the first time. How are they supposed to protect the country? You protect it, chicken hawk. You wanna fight? Go volunteer. They say they aren't getting enough recruits. Yeah, they did fuck up that sentence. Yeah. So true. Are they going to start conscript soon, you think? What's the point of conscripting a bunch of fat otaku? They just get in the way. War these days requires professional soldiers. Says the fat otaku who doesn't want to go to war. There are barely any professional soldiers left in Japan. Our masters in America and sent them all around the globe, and then stuck them there. You guys are probably going to be getting your conscription notices soon. Good luck, I'm a chick so I don't care. In other words, if we get a sex change, we don't have to go, right? The real enemies of Japan are its own citizens, huh, asshole? So seriously, are we going to be split up like Germany? Oh dear. It's likely. They say there's a provisional government forming in Okinawa. They're all set to abandon East Japan and just have America protect the West. Those incompetents in the government might honestly do it. Yeah. It really is. Is this really the time to bash politicians? Traitorous shill. Traitor. Shill. Strategically, America can't let go of Okinawa, and Japan wants to keep some kind of government. That means that making a provisional government in Okinawa is the best option. You bashed the hell of Okinawa up until now, and now you're telling me this? Shut up, traitor. So if I'm a traitor, what are you? You're posting on @chan right now. That means you're either fled the country or ran to Okinawa. Is this today's you don't get a talk thread? Oh boy. The reason it took a month to get to Okinawa was that we were losing the war. Supposedly, the plan had been to ferry me by plane to Okinawa once I arrived at Iruma base. But the constant bombing had slowed us down, so they gave up on the plan and decided I would escape to Kyushu by ground. It's supposed to be Tu-chan, 4chan's older adoptive brother, but it's more or less the same subculture. I didn't know that, I'll be honest. But honestly, that doesn't make it any better. They're all pretty much the same difference, in my opinion. Like, if you can tell the differences between all the chans, there's a... like, you're in too deep. Like... too many, yeah. The 2 stands for too many. I don't remember if I read this. I'll read it again. But the constant bombing had slowed us down, so they gave up on the plan and decided I would escape to Kyushu by ground. There was more than one attack by Soviet spies and assault teams, Some of the SDF soldiers protecting me died. But when I got to Sasebo, I was able to get on a maritime SDF escort ship and managed to escape to Okinawa. Why were they all doing this for me? No matter how many times I asked, no one would answer. Okinawa in winter was covered in thick clouds. China is Japanese, 4chan is American, that's the main difference. Ah, I see. That makes more sense, I guess. Come to think of it, I hadn't seen a real break in the clouds for a whole month. I was thinking about that when I was loaded into a van with dark tinted windows that had come to pick me up from the port. Inside the car was not only the driver, but a middle-aged man sitting in the front passenger seat. He was very short, perhaps only 150 centimeters tall. That is short. That's like 10 centimeters shorter than me, or more than that. Closer to 20 centimeters shorter than me. Tiny. But he had the air of a military veteran, and even though he was fully dressed, I could tell he was extremely muscular. Rintaro Okabe, correct? What is that in feet? I mean, I know my height in feet and inches, but it's okay. I'm not smart either. One of us will look it up. Let's see who finds out faster. Under 5 foot? Yeah, just under 5 foot. Yeah, 59 inches. Yeah. So like 4'11"-ish, maybe? Yeah, tiny. Rintaro Okabe, right? Correct? I'm Shimoyama with the Ministry of Defense's Intelligence Security Command. Yeah, short king. We're going to make a stop at the airport. I then head to the Okinawa Defense Bureau in Kandena. I'm sure you're tired from your long journey, but I'll have to ask you to hang in there a while longer. Right. Oh, Jesus. I'd heard that Tokyo had been destroyed. The major functions of the Japanese government were now headquartered out of the Okinawa Defense Bureau to allow for better cooperation with the American forces stationed nearby. That was what Shimoyama explained to me. In other words, the place I was heading to was the core of Japan's defenses. Once I arrived, would I understand why it was so important to all those soldiers was so important that all those soldiers were willing to die and to protect me. The car stopped in front of Naha Airport for a while. And then I saw a surprising pair get aboard. Okabe? I wasn't expecting them. Wait, so Yuki hasn't died yet then? So what year is it? Wow, it's really Okarin. You're Yuki Nakase. I wasn't expecting to see them there. But they were the first people I knew who I'd met since coming to this world line. That alone was almost enough to make me cry. Oh. But still, I couldn't just sit there and be happy. What about Mayuri? Do you know where she is? She's fine. Yuki nodded, as if trying to make me feel better. She was just with us. Just with you. That's right. Mayushi and Rumiho, and Luka and Kaede. We got to the airport this morning. We were all waiting because they said we could go to some place called the Defense Bureau, where we'd be safe. They just said they'd take Fubuki and me there first. And then they had us get inside this car, where we found you. Anyway, I'm glad everybody's safe. Since Darden and Suzuha weren't mentioned, I was going to ask about them, but... Sorry, but can you talk about this later? Shimoyama cut me off, and the car started moving. The plan is for your families to arrive at the Okinawa Defense Bureau eventually. We already have them under our protection. Really? I'm so glad. Your other friends are all in the car behind us. You haven't been separated, so don't worry. I took a quick look and saw another identical van a little behind us. So Mahonyan and the others were there. Then we'll see them later, right? Of course. Yuki let out a sigh of relief. But then I started to wonder about something else. Why were we split into different cars? Not enough seats? That's my main guess. This van could hold at least another 3 people. If you squeezed tight, it could easily hold everyone. Okay, then I guess... Okay, well, that was addressed, I guess. But it's probably not a good idea to squeeze everyone, but I digress. Or was there some reason they put me, Yuki, and Fubuki into the same car? The car drove alongside the Okinawa monorail for a while, and then we went south down a wide bypass. It's so dark. Huh? What was that? Nothing. Just... There are all these stores, but they're all dark. I wonder why. Is some of this info true to modern history? All the tips are gonna be accurate. You know, like, the tips and stuff, like, it is based on real life stuff. Like, even the science stuff is, like, pretty accurate, so I've heard. Yeah. What Spooky said. Like, obviously, the future stuff we don't know, because we're not there, but... Yeah. All of it is real. Catman. None is fake. Catman. I'm pretty sure upon opening the game, it says that, like, any resemblances to, like, certain things, like, it has a fiction disclaimer at the beginning of, like, opening the game. Like The Simpsons, oh dear. I hope not. Well, I guess I don't know what happens in the Steins Gate world line. We might be in that world line. I don't know what world line we're on. There were lots of franchise restaurants, big supermarkets, cafeterias for tourists, and rent-a-car places all jammed together along the side of the road. But all of them were dead silent. Now their lights were turned off. Barely any of the street lights were turned on, and the only cars were Japanese and US military vehicles. I didn't see anyone out walking. There's a blackout in effect, as well as a curfew past 5 p.m. Okinawa may be safe, but this is still wartime. Things can't be like they were. Yeah. I can't wait for the war to end and everything to go back to normal. Wartime, huh? Tell me, Okabe. The Okinawa you knew was a bright, fun place, even at night, wasn't it? Has Okabe ever been to Okinawa? Oh. I wouldn't know. I never been to Okinawa before. Well, look at that. I was right. That's a shame. Then I pray you get to come back for a good vacation sometime. This really is a nice island, when there isn't war and all. The car headed up from the bypass over along a land bridge, and then to another road. We quickly came to a long funnel. I actually wanted to ask the 3 of you some questions before we got to the bureau. That's why I have you riding with me. Huh? My guess was right. That meant there was something he wanted to ask just the 3 of us. But why us 3? I wasn't particularly close to Yuki or Fubuki. I only even started talking to them a few months ago. And then I shook my head. That was before the world line changed. Maybe things were different in this world line. I had no idea what my relationship was to anyone else in this world line. Since the SDF had been treating me so well, and I didn't want to make Shinoyama suspicious, I decided it would be best to leave most of the talking to Yuki and Fubuki. Yuki Amane. Yes? Shimoyama spoke to Yuki first. Yuki went stuff when her name was called. I could feel it even sitting next to her. You don't know where Itaro Hashida and his little sister are, do you? Little sister? That must be Suzuha. That didn't mean that even in this world line, Suzuha had come from the future and gotten to know Yuki and the others while pretending to be Suzuha's sister. Huh? I think that was supposed to be Daru's sister. Suzuha can't be her own sister, come on. And the SDF evidently didn't know where Daru and Suzuha were. No, Yuki fell silent and glanced over to me, as if expecting help. But I didn't know where they were either. I didn't even have any memories of this world line, so I had no way of answering. But Yuki's attitude bothered me. It was as if she knew where they were and was deliberately hiding it, and that I was supposed to be hiding it too. I could figure that out. I'm sure Shimoyama could too. A strange tension filled the car. Yuki was trying to hide it. From whom? You sure you don't know? Shino turned around from the front passenger seat and asked again. I'm sorry. Yuki bowed her head in apology. But you were very close to him, weren't you? You were his lover, and yet you heard nothing? You know that cell phones don't work anymore, right? There are plenty of ways to get in touch with someone besides a cell phone. But I really don't. Nothing from his sister either. Nothing. And by the way, I'm told that you were researching something with Hashida Okabe. Huh? I wasn't sure how to react when the conversation suddenly turned towards me. Researching? Researching what? What do you think, buddy? Uh-oh. If I panic, I'll make them suspicious. What were you researching? I would just have to give him the most harmless answers I could. It wasn't really research. It was more like inventions. Inventions. Like whether you could attach a CCD camera to a bamboo copter to do aerial photography. I see. Or whether you could use the heat from a vacuum cleaner as a hair dryer. No, that's interesting. Then you weren't, say, making something unbelievable and running away from us so that we wouldn't find out what it was? Running away. Damn, I responded. That was a mistake. But did that mean that Daru and Suzuha were hiding from the SDF amidst all this chaos? The SDF had to risk their lives to protect me over the past month. Should I be asking them for help? I got even more confused. If you don't know, then that's fine. We'll talk about Hashida and his sister some other time. Somebody, please tell me what the right answer is. How am I supposed to respond here? Katsumi Nakase? There was something else I wanted to ask you. Me? This time it was Fubuki's turn to jump in her seat. No, don't get so nervous. It's nothing big. Or so Shimoyama said, but Fubuki was clearly starting to get scared. Her reaction was strange. It was too strong. Maybe the self-defense forces weren't simply protecting us. For one thing, there was no way normal civilians like us merited such important treatment. But then what were they after? No, I could guess. The time machine. This war started with Russia's time machine experiments. And of course, Nakabachi was involved. I learned from some of the soldiers that even in this world line he'd sought asylum in Russia. And Suzuha was a time traveler from the year 2036. If Suzuha was here in this era, that meant that it was Daru who made the time machine that brought her here. If you had a time machine, he could change the outcome of this war. It would make sense if that was what the Japanese government thought, and if that was why they were trying to capture Daru, Suzuha, and their friends. Once I realized that, the whole situation started to feel terrifying to me. Was this car really headed toward the Okinawa Defense Bureau? And if it was, were they really going to keep us safe there? About the physical you underwent last week. But was there some problem? No. You've almost recovered from the wounds you sustained in Tokyo, and health-wise, you're fine. But you're under a lot of stress. It's like it's wartime or something, you know? Who wouldn't be under a lot of stress? Oh. Well, it's not surprising. You survived that terrible bombing. It's no exaggeration to say that most civilians have PTSD now. No, war never changes. Yeah, so true. But it seems that your symptoms are a little different than most people's. What's that supposed to mean? You have very realistic dreams, for example. In particularly severe instances, they could almost be called to waking dreams. I'm told at times you lose the ability to tell the difference between dreams and reality. Isn't that just PTSD though? What is this analysis? I don't fucking know, man. Ibuki was too scared to speak, so Yuki interrupted curtly. It was rare to see Yuki act like this. If nothing else, I'd never seen it before. It was plain now. Yuki didn't trust Shimoyama. In fact, she considered him an enemy. No, it's very strange. Shimoyama paused a moment for effect and rubbed his chin. There are others who say they have very similar dreams, and not just one or two. What? Of course, the degree to which they suffer from this problem changes, but we found more than 10 in Japan alone. How is this supposed to be special? Like, sometimes that just happens, that you have a dream that's so realistic that you can't tell the difference. And they exist in other countries too. Well, we've only got information from the West. That's just a coincidence, isn't it? Fubuki was incredibly frightened, so I spoke in her place. You've heard of Pushin, right? Suddenly, Shimoyama turned his gaze toward me and asked me a question. Pushin? The Soviet General Secretary, right? Yeah, Putin. I almost said the President of Russia, but managed to stop myself. Putin, oh dear. The Soviet Union still exists in this world line. Pushin's title was General Secretary, not President. I heard that during my time in Aruma. At Aruma. Correct. But interestingly enough, Nakase referred to him as the President of Russia. How's that interesting? What? I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention. I'm not really what you'd call a good student. No, that's not it. It's one of the strange things about all the people who have these dreams. They all call him President Putin. How is that weird? Like, huh? And they all call Gorbachev and Lenin presidents too. Isn't that just not being educated? Like, what? That's why the scientists have started calling it President's Disease. Not a terribly clever name if you ask me. It really isn't, but you know, scientists aren't great at naming things, I'll be honest. What? You swear what? Yes, quack. I agree. Thank you, Mars. No way. Is he talking about reading Steiner? There's a strong chance that people beside me had that power, even if not as acutely. I never found out for sure, but what Ferris had said in the Alpha World line certainly suggested it. So it was certainly possible that Shimoyama's waking dreams were actually the effects of reading Steiner. If they were all aware of the world line shift a month ago, just like me, if Ibuki had the same memories of the other world line that I had, It would make perfect sense that she called Pichino president.
Gorbachev?
Netzin. You don't know them? Didn't they teach each other in world history? I only took science classes in high school. That's an option? I thought everyone knew about them. Do kids today not know who they are? I find it hard to believe that you're all that ignorant. I'm sure you know about Gorbachev and Celestin, right, Okabe? Yeah, I suppose so. That's not the most confident response, Okabe. And Perestroika and the fall of the Berlin Wall. Good catch, Spooky. Yeah, they were in the textbooks. The second after my words were out of my mouth, an alarm went off in my mind. That's what you said, Spooky. Something was wrong. There was something strange about what Shimayama was saying. Then I realized. The East and West were caught up in the middle of a world war. How could the Berlin Wall have fallen? And could Goldsbest really execute Perestroika? By the time I realized he tricked me, it was too late. My panic appeared on my face. You too, huh? And you were deliberately trying to hide it, weren't you? So the information was right after all. You know something important. Listen, Okabe. I want you to tell me. Can the world line change again, pretty please? Thank you. Shimiyama suddenly laughed. It was a better laugh, almost eerily so. Gorbachev, listen. Who are these people you all keep talking about? You're the one that mentioned them. We don't have any data on them, and neither do any of the American intelligence agencies. That data doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. I looked over at Yuki. From the look on her face, I could tell that she really had no idea who they were. Perestroika, the fall of the Berlin Wall. Did these things really happen? Tell me, please. But I couldn't answer. I was thinking of something completely different. I suddenly realized why the world line would have changed a month ago on Christmas Eve. What if Russia used the time machine that day, an experiment to change the past? Fuck. I hope not. The goal of the experiment would have been to stop the collapse of the Soviet Union, and that the result of them changing the past was this world line. How foolish. A single change to the past and the butterfly effect makes the entire world so different. Did they know how many people had died? Have you and your friends really experienced the history of a different world? I mean, they didn't experience the fall of the Berlin Wall. They weren't old enough. I just can't believe it. It's just nonsense cooked up by some crazy scientist. He was about to push me further when we heard the sound of an incoming call on a cell phone. Shimayama grunted and took his phone out of his pocket. This is Shimayama. Yeah, we're on our way to the bureau. What? What do you mean? Damn it. What's the problem with these idiots? What country do these politicians think they're working for? Shimayama's finger slammed down on the end call button so hard I thought the phone would break. There was a look of rage on his face. We're changing our destination. At the Gadena base, Gate 2. His words were filled with irritation as he spoke to the driver. Changing destinations? Who was he just talking to? As I sat there confused, Shimayama started to call someone else. This is Shimayama. We're changing our destination. We'll meet at Gate 2 of the Gadena base. And that was all he said before he hung up. What's going on? If it ain't excessively massive, it ain't American. So true. The situation's changed. Okabe is heading to a US military base. From there, he might get to take a fun trip on a US Air Force plane to America. What? America? I'll ask them to make sure you get first-class accommodations, but don't get your hopes up. They don't listen to us any more than you'd listen to a yapping pet dog. I mean, I think they get listened to. I don't know. Why America? I don't know. If it's the CIA or the NSC, but someone wants us to hand you over. But why? Ask them yourself. And then he turned back toward the front and fell silent, refusing to answer any of my questions. The car went down the road for a while until we got off at an exit that read South Okinawa. We stopped in front of the gate. Several US soldiers had evidently been waiting for my arrival. Once we hand you over to the Americans, we're not going to get any accurate information from them. So this is my last chance. Shimiyama turned around from the front passenger seat and looked straight at me. His eyes were desperate and begging. Tell me, what are we supposed to do from now on? Please. I remembered all the soldiers in Tokyo who'd fought so desperately to protect me. Were they fighting to help someone else in Tokyo right now? Or were they already? I don't know. Okabe. I really don't know. Do you think I can do something about this war all by myself? Knowing that Gorbachev and Lenin were presidents of Russia, or that they brought a dramatic end to the Cold War, that doesn't actually help anything. I could hear the sound of another car getting closer. Shimiyama sighed and opened the passenger side door. Get out. I exited the car as I was told. Okani! Mayuri got out of the van behind us and ran over to me. Mayuri! Okani. Aww. My childhood friend flung herself into my arms and I held her tight. I finally get to see you. I'm so glad you're safe. I could feel her warmth. Mayuri was here. I never gone almost a whole month without seeing her before. And this was wartime. I couldn't easily contact her like I could in the old world line. So I had been so worried about whether or not Mayuri was okay. It was no exaggeration to say that I survived this far just to make sure. I'd erased the entire Alpha world line to save her. No matter what happened, I wanted her to be safe. Okani, you're hurting me. Oh, sorry. I held her too closely. I took a step back. Mayashi believed, you know? Mayashi believed she'd get to see Okarin again. No. Yeah. Hooray, you're safe, Nya. Okabe. I heard two more voices I recognized. Luca. They look so weird with their hair like totally down. Like, not necessarily in a bad way, but like it's unfamiliar territory. Ferris and Luca. And behind them I saw Kaede. I'm glad you're all safe. Okabe. Lukako. I felt myself getting choked up too when I saw Lukako cry. I exchanged greetings with Kaede too. Fubuki had grabbed onto her like a little kid. She was still pale and trembling. Ferris, I guess you're not wearing your maid outfit for once. I mean, it's been a long time since anybody's called me Ferris, yeah. Ferris spoke sadly. Then she put her hand around my neck and held me close. Her little pink lips got close to my ear, as if she was about to kiss me. Hey. What was going on? Don't be so embarrassed, Nyan. She laughed mischievously. Then Ferris, no. Miho Akiha whispered into my ear while pretending to kiss me. Be careful. Don't trust the Ministry of Defense or the Americans. Adults are all liars. None of them tell the truth. You're also an adult. Spoiler alert. That's right. Ferris had a special talent. Cheshire break. Never trust Americans. Yeah, that's true. Yes, she is Nyanya. She was incredibly good at looking into someone's heart and seeing what they were thinking. Yeah. I just figured that out. One of them just tricked me. Ferris looked surprised and took a step back. That's sad, Nyang. Yeah. And then I heard the sound of another engine. This time it was coming from beyond the gate and inside the base. It belonged to a black luxury car with an E on the license plate. Behind it was a minibus. The two of them stopped in front of the gate. It was time for my reunion to end.
Welcome!
Welcome! An American soldier as tall as a basketball player got out of the car. Yokoso! Welcome everyone, my name is Hammond. His Japanese was good, but not great. Everyone except Mr. Okabe, please get on the bus. He was smiling, but I could tell he wasn't going to allow any arguments. Hammond is such a British name. Maybe British parent? I don't know. And the other American soldiers were still carrying their rifles as they stood guard without smiles. Shimayama and the other Japanese soldiers were watching us from a distance. They didn't try to stop us. They were just looking downwards. Only Hammond I know is from Top Gear. That makes sense. I mean, yeah, I figured you're talking about the British Top Gear. Who watches the American Top Gear? Let's be real here. Yeah, they didn't try to stop us. They were just looking downwards. Huh? Everyone but Okarin? What do you mean? There's no need to be scared. We're just going to talk to you a little, and then we'll send you right to the Okinawa Defense Bureau. Come along. Okarin. It's fine. Don't worry. But... Yuki, take care of Mayuri. Okay. Yuki nodded and put her arm around Mayuri's shoulder as she led her to the bus. Everyone else followed. Okarin. Tell my parents I said hi. Once everyone but me was on, the minibus left immediately. The area in front of the gate fell silent. It was hard to believe that this existed in the same world as all the places I crossed on my escape through Japan's main island. Alright, Mr. Okabe, come this way. He told me to get in the backseat of the black luxury car. What would happen to me once I got inside? I tried to think about it, but realized there was nothing I could do. I was just about to get into the car when... Okabe, run! If you go to America, you won't come back alive. Shimiyama's scream was cut off by the sound of gunfire. In the corner of my eye, I saw the American soldiers firing without hesitation. I love that you guys were just like, oh, Hampter, and then... Like, it's just, like, specifically Mars being Hampter, and then what? Damn, America's shoot first to ask questions later. So fucking true. Man, this is a fun time. I love Steins Gate. Don't you guys love Steins Gate? In the corner of my eye, I saw the American soldiers firing without hesitation. No way. I tried to turn around when... Get inside. A large hand blocked my vision as Hammond held me down. I couldn't hear Shimayama's voice anymore. Through the gaps between his fingers, I could see that nothing was moving. I knew exactly what that meant. I was shoved into the car before I had time to think about it. This is... I tried to open my mouth, but Hammond looked into my eyes and shook his head. I wasn't supposed to talk then. Hammond sat next to me, then closed the door. The car started to move. Soon we turned around a different road than the one the minibus was taking. America, huh? I'd never been there before. What were they gonna do to me there? Use me as a guinea pig? Cut open my head and dissect my brain? I probably wasn't gonna be able to do any tourist things. I felt like screaming, but tried my best to stay calm. There's someone I want you to meet. Hammond suddenly spoke. Then he handed me something. I took it before I even looked at what it was. When I checked, it was a normal smartphone. It's not locked. Just hit that button. Confused, I pressed the button as I was told, and then something appeared on the screen. Amadeus Kurisu. Hi. How's it? Howdy. It was the Amadeus Kurisu Makise. Why does the US military have Amadeus? I know why. Thanks to other endings. I was about to ask Hammond when. For the first time in about a month, that feeling came back. Oh, thank God. Fuck that world line in particular, Jesus. Again? Yeah, again. Here we go again. The whole world and all its colors began to shift. There was a feeling of instability, like my brain was unable to recognize where it was, and then dizziness and a sense of falling, like when you get when you're anemic. Oh, hey, I am anemic. Yeah, he does need to sleep. Okabe deserves a big ol' nap. I could hear the blood vessels deep within my ears, and they sounded really loud. The sense of floating finally stopped, and my surroundings coalesced into firm shapes. Okari. I do that too when I stand up too fast, oh boy. Mayuri was in front of me. I was in the lab, in the room I knew well. There was no trace of Okinawa anywhere. Mayuri is going to get embarrassed if you keep staring like that. Please hug her tight and firmly, please. I realized I was staring at Mayuri. I looked around the room. Daddy was sitting in front of the PC like always, hunched over with his back towards me. Oh, okay. So hug Mayuri, please. Thank you. No? Too many people around? Mirror. Suzuho was reading a magazine on the couch. On the open page I could read the title, New Encephalus Strikes Worldwide. Are you in danger? Huh? The same couch, the same cheap fridge, Daddy's computer desk, the dirty curtain that cut off the development room for the rest of the lab. The wall clock, which I picked up out of the garbage dump, told me it was past 6. I looked at the calendar, and 2010 was already gone. It was January 2011. Encephalitis is essentially inflammation of the brain tissue. I think this might have been mentioned before in, like, other chapters. Maybe. Or maybe it was something else that's kind of similar. Like, not in terms, but, like, meaning anyway. Yeah, okay. Does he have the disease? I mean, he definitely has mental disease. Does he have his anxiety medicine in this world line? Please tell me he does. Is he a medicated boyo? He figured out the storyline. The world line had changed again. I was back. Yes, you're connecting the dots. I'm proud of you, Mars. To the old world line. His brain is too big. Hey, Mighty. This is This is Akihabara, right? Is it not Akihabara? You misinterpreted that sound, Okabe. It's Akihabara. What day is it again? The 21st. Do you know who Gorbachev is? Gorbachev? I think I've heard that name. Perestroika, right? Russia? Or was Gorbachev back from the Soviet days? These days, when you think Russia, you think Putin. I'm sure if he was in front of me and he glared at me, I'd pee my pants. I know Putin. He's the president of Russia, right? Did you know he likes doggies? He keeps an Akita. I saw it on the news. Oh dear. President. Yeah. That's right. He's the president. Yeah, that's fair. Yep. Understandable reaction. Mayuri, Daru, and Suzuho all looked over at me suspiciously. Understandable. It felt like a long time since anyone had looked at me that way. I was back. I no longer had to worry that I might be killed at any second. I felt incredibly relieved. But at the same time, I wondered. Why had the world line changed again? I needed to calm down and think for a bit. I went up to the roof and booted up the web browser on my smartphone. Unlike during wartime, it connected immediately. No, he needs to stop thinking so true. He needs to take a fucking nap. I was amazed at the speed. Just getting an internet connection on the last world line had been difficult enough. I started by searching for Gorbachev, and the results came back instantly. Jam. He says jam. Perestroika. The Soviet Union's first and last president. The August coup d'etat and the collapse of the Soviet Union. All the keywords I hoped to see were there. As soon as I confirmed that the Soviet Union was dismantled at the end of the 20th century and no longer existed, I closed the browser. What does this say? Mihairu? Oh yeah, because isn't yeah, okay, that makes sense. I'll stop reading. Then why he had the world line shifted again? I hadn't done anything. I didn't have any way to affect the divergence value. So what had changed it? Had whoever had performed the first experiment in Russia undone it? Had they watched his progress for a month and then been satisfied? Were they going to keep doing it? And if they did, would I be caught up in it each time? It's so cold. It was a mistake to come outside without a coat on. Nothing I could come up with by myself would be anything more than a guess. I went back to the lab. The wreaths we put up at the entrance for the Christmas party were still up.
Christmas party.
A Christmas party, huh? It had only been a month, hadn't it? It felt like a million years ago. I had no memories of what I'd done in this world line after the Christmas party. No, come to think of it, we left the decorations up. We should take those down. You and Miss Fubuki collapsed during the party, right? So there was a big fuss and we sort of forgot to clean up. Oh, so that still happened. Interesting.
俺と中瀬さんが
Nakase and I collapsed. Was that when the world line changed? Everyone remembered that I collapsed at the Christmas party, which means I'd come back to the same world line as the one I'd been in before. If this was Russia's doing, it was terrifying to think they could control the world line to that degree. And they are diseased. And there's one more thing. It worried me that the Fubuki had collapsed too. I stood there, lost in thought. Daddy and Mighty looked a little concerned. Okarin? Oh, come to think of it, I was wondering how Nakase is doing. I quickly came up with an excuse. Fubuki's still in the hospital. She's in the hospital? What the fuck? In the hospital? Even though it's been a month? She says she's fine, but they won't let her leave. Diseased. So true, Mars. I've heard that lately, unless you were really, really sick, they wouldn't let you stay in the hospital for very long. Was Fubuki sick with something? They still think she's got this, I guess. Suzuho whispered as she held up the page of the magazine she was reading. You encephalated... That word. Strikes worldwide. Are you in danger? You encephalitis. I borrowed the magazine. They were talking about this last November. I'd seen a glimpse of it on the news. You're connecting so many dots. Yeah. Outside of Japan, they've seen almost 100 people, albeit with mild symptoms. In Japan, there were 10 people being kept at hospitals for examinations, or so it said. I bet it's an excuse to see if people have reading Steiner. Yeah. So that made its way to Japan. And one of those 10 was Fubuki then. Was it transmissible by air? We didn't catch it at the Christmas party, did we? I knew that getting nervous wouldn't help anything, but still, I wondered. Hey, shouldn't you go to the hospital too, Okarin? You were in worse shape than she was, you know? Yeah, I'll think about it. I gave a half-hearted answer to Mayuri and turned back to the magazine. Strange symptoms being found all over the world. Cause unknown. Sudden memory loss. Memories differ from those of the people around you. Losing all sense of the passage of time. Losing the ability to tell the difference between dreams and reality, and sometimes having waking dreams. The article was filled with things like that. This was just like reading Steiner. And it matched exactly with what Shimoyama had told me in the other world line. You have very realistic dreams, for example. In particularly bad instances, they could almost be called waking dreams. I'm told at times you lose the ability to tell the difference between dreams and reality. There are others who say they have very similar dreams, and not just one or two. I'd wondered back then if Ibuki possessed reading Steiner too. Maybe the reason she collapsed at the Christmas party wasn't some new disease, but the unexpected activation of reading Steiner. That would mean her diagnosis was wrong. The unnecessary tests and treatments they gave her wouldn't help a bit. It looked like I needed to talk to Fubuki. I ended up going over that day. She was at a large general hospital with a medical student department located in Ochinomizu. It was close enough to Akihabara I could walk, and getting there was easy. Since she might get the wrong idea if I went alone, I encouraged Mayuri to come with me. I hoped it would look like I was only coming as an afterthought, but it ended up being a bigger deal than I expected. When they heard that Mayuri was going, Yuki and Kaede decided to come too. Evidently, they'd all been to visit Fubuki several times before, and they knew exactly where she was located. They walked down the halls without hesitation. It was almost 8 when visiting hours ended, so we needed to hurry. But as we passed by a nurse's station, there was a minor commotion. A woman in her late 40s wearing a grey jersey was yelling at the doctors and nurses. Enough of this. When do I get to go home? We've told you. Only after you've been examined and gotten the treatment you need. You aren't giving me any kind of treatment. And what was supposed to be a quick exam ended up with me stuck here for a month. What am I supposed to do about my job? Sick leave, I don't know. Calm down. There's still a lot we don't know about this disease. Without proper examination and treatment, it's dangerous. Liar. The TV said not to worry because it wasn't that bad. We've told you before, that's only if you get the appropriate treatment. One of the nurses just told me you were dizzy. I just felt anemic because dinner was late. I'm just fine. Let me go home. The woman was about ready to grab the doctor by the throat. Several female nurses held her back, then dragged her off somewhere with reassuring words. That scared me. You think Fubuki's okay? The girls hurried even faster down the hallway. Fubuki was in a 4-person room at the very end of the hallway. We hesitantly peeked inside. That voice. We could hear moaning coming from beyond the curtains surrounding Fubuki's bed. Mayuri went pale and hurriedly ripped them open. Fubuki! Sorry, that was funny. Fubuki made a strange noise and spun around as we came in. I looked closer and saw that she was sitting on the bed with her legs crossed, watching a show on the LCD TV attached to it. Her eyes were red and swollen with tears, but given the fact that she had a stick of Pocky in her mouth, she was probably just crying over a soap opera. Huh? Oh, you guys came to see me. Fubuki wiped away her smiles and welcomed us with her usual smile. Phew. You scared Mayushi. I thought you were crying. I mean, she was, but you really scared us. Sorry. Even as she apologized, she tossed another chocolate-coated stick into her mouth. Her hair was tied up, and she was wearing some kind of headgear. At first I thought it was just that she was too lazy to do her hair, but evidently not. There were cords coming out of the headgear that were attached to a belt around her waist. Were they monitoring her brainwaves? And unobtrusively as possible, I took a look at the other patients around the room. They're all wearing the same headgear. They may have been giving it to all the encephalitis patients. Sorry to bring everyone over, Fubuki. Is this a simulation? Maybe. Not at all. You're very welcome, and I didn't think Okunin would come. The Matrix. Fubuki stared at me intently. She'd never done that before, so I started to wonder if there was something on my face. They said you collapsed like I did, so I got worried. How are you doing? That happened a month ago, dude. Just fine. I really don't understand why they won't let me leave. Every day they just do exams and there's nothing for me to do. I'm so bored. And you're not allowed to use your phone in the rooms. If I want to send a text, I have to go all the way to the lobby. They turn off the lights at 9, so I can't watch the late night anime. How does turning off the lights at 9 prevent you from watching anime? You just need the device to be on. I don't know. I really just don't believe this. Her bed was surrounded with portable game consoles, magazines, a miniature DVD player, anything to stave off boredom. She can't see the TV in the dark, duh. Yeah, I guess. That's the logic here anyway. And given all the half-empty boxes of snacks, it was hard to believe the disease was as serious as they said on the news. Are you okay, Okarin? Yeah. I told Mayuri this, but I'm fine. I see. I'm glad. She seemed truly relieved, but she was still staring at me. And suddenly Kaede started to fidget. Not only that, she blushed and glanced at me, and then almost started to cry. She was acting really weird. Kaede? What's wrong? Kaede started fidgeting even more when she realized that everyone was looking at her, but she had no choice but to go over and whisper something in Fubuki's ear. Yeah, that makes more sense. Suki, you're right, but still. Huh? Fubuki? The other girls tried to quiet Fubuki down. This was a hospital, and there were other patients in the room. We couldn't make a fuss. But listen to this, everybody. Miss Kaede Kurishima here suspects me of secretly dating Okarin. Huh? Agreed. Now it was our turn to keep from shouting in surprise. Where are you getting that from? Because according to Mayuri, you were the one who wanted to come see Fubuki today, right? That's true. There was another reason, but I couldn't say that. If Fubuki and Okarin were staring longingly at one another, you were definitely misinterpreting what's going on here, sweetie. We were not staring longingly at one another. That's not it. Is there a problem visiting a friend of the hospital? Like, yeah. What do you mean you can't blame Kaede? Fubuki tried to scratch her hair, but the headgear blocked her way and she gave up. I had this really realistic dream. Realistic dream. I was startled. That may have been what I wanted to find out. It was sometime this evening. I was kind of spacing out. There's just nothing to do around here. And then somehow, I don't really remember, but me and Okarin and Yuki were all taken somewhere in a car by these scary men. I was there too? Yeah. It was the same. I met Fubuki had experienced the same things I had gone through in the other world line. And this evening would have been the same time I was experiencing it. I peeked through the curtains to make sure none of the hospital staff were around. Sorry guys, but can you leave me alone with Nakase for a bit? What? Wait. No way. It's not like that. I wasn't really sure how to handle that reaction. Is it something you don't want Mayushi and everyone else to know about? It's about her disease. Okay, I understand. Mayuri nodded and went outside the curtains. The other two looked bothered, but they followed her. Nakase.
君の
Did
話した
this
夢
dream
なん
of
だが
yours take place in Okinawa?
もしかして場所は沖縄じゃなかったか
Huh?
そう
Yeah,
だね
that's right.
うん
I think it was
多分
Okinawa.
沖縄だった
I think I saw a sign saying so when I was in the
車に乗っ
car.
てる時にそういう看板を見た気がする、
車に乗ってたのは
Inside the car, there was you, me, and Yuki.
そして
Then the
ユキさん
driver and a short man who was an
他に運転手と
SDF soldier.
背の低い自衛隊の男
Yeah,
男の名前は
the man's name was
下
Shimoyama.
山
Fubuki suddenly went pale. A dream about being in a car in Okinawa could be written off as a coincidence, but knowing the exact name of the man in that shared dream was a different matter entirely.
どうして
How? Why?
その男は君に
The man
Hakchum
talked to you
no
about
hanashimashita.
waking dreams
ロ
and
シ
the
アの大
president
統
of
領の話
Russia. That's right.
そして
And then we were
俺
taken
たち
to
は
a
米軍
US
基地
Army
に連れて
base.
行かれた
There you met up with Mayuri and the
そこで
others
マユリた
and
ちと
said
合流
goodbye
して
to me.
俺とは別れた
Fubuki was too stunned to speak. There was no room for doubt. My suspicion turned into a certainty. Fubuki had a stronger reading standard than most people. I remembered the other world line as a relatively realistic dream.
夢の中で
And the other
その
dream,
下山
the
って人が
Shimoyama
言っ
guy
てた
said that you and I
他に
both
そ
had
の
memories
私と
of
同じで
another world.
別の世界の記憶を持ってるんだって
あ
Yeah,
それって
was he
本当だっ
right?
たんだ
Yeah.
あ
I hesitated for a moment, but then I gave her a brief explanation of my own reading Steiner ability. And this is why you don't mess with time travel. So true. The one thing I wanted to make sure she understood was that her dreams weren't caused by an illness. But her reaction wasn't what I expected.
だったら
Then
他にもいるかも
there might be others who aren't sick too.
そうなのか
There are.
暇だから
There's nothing
みん
to
なと
do,
ね
so I talk to
よ
the
く
others a
話を
lot
するんだ
about the dreams we
自分
have.
の見た夢の
And
話
sometimes it's just
そ
amazing
れ
how
がものすご
similar
く
they
そっくり
are.
でびっくりすることがあって
Hmm.
ついさっきもね
There's a kid in
隣の部屋に
elementary
入院して
school
る
who's in the
中
next
学生の
room
子が言ってた
who became friends.
ここで仲良くなった子なんだけど一度も行ったことな
They
いは
said
ず
that
な
they'd
の
never
に
been to Okinawa,
沖縄にいる
but they
夢を
had a
見た
dream that they were there.
戦争で
Tokyo had
東
burned
京が燃え
down,
ちゃって
and the self-defense forces saved them and took them there.
沖縄へ逃げる夢だったって
Hmm.
そ
I
So
see. No. If that was true, then it wasn't just Fubuki. There were other patients who were being kept in the hospital for no reason, who didn't have any kind of disease at all.
お医者さんに
Should I talk to the
話した方がい
doctors?
い
I mean,
いや
no.
とてもじゃ
I
ない
don't
が
think
信
they'd
じてもら
believe
える
you.
とは思えない
And they started to think that your delusions were getting
妄想が
worse.
ひどくなったって診断されたりでもしたら
そっか
You're right.
他の人にも
You shouldn't tell the
まだ
others
黙って
yet.
いた方がいい
You don't want there to be a fuss.
騒ぎになったら大変だ
Yeah. And then Yuki poked her head through the curtain.
岡部さん
Uncle Bang,
看護師さん
a
が
nurse
こっ
is
ちに来ま
coming.
す面会時間
Visiting hours are
おし
over
まいです
for
よ
today. I looked at the clock. It was well past 8.
パタパタしちゃって
Sorry for
ごめん
being
ね
in such a rush,
鈴木さん
Fubuki. Next time we'll come earlier so we'll have more time.
早めに来るね
Aw, Maishi. Don't go.
でも
But the nurse will get mad.
ちゃうよそんなの別に
Let them get mad.
今夜
Sleep
は
with me
私
tonight.
と一緒に寝
No.
て
Fubuki was back to her usual self. She grabbed Mayuri's hand and held it tight. Kaede chuckled to force her to let go.
なるべく来てあげる
Don't be
から
selfish. We'll come as often as we can.
なるべくじゃや
That's
だ
not
よ
good enough.
明日
Come
も
tomorrow
明
and the
後日も
day after and as soon as school's over. I'm so bored I could
今ね死んじ
die.
ゃう
Fubuki flailed her arms and legs about. It was a bit too deliberate if you ask me. Kaede pat her on the head.
はいはい。
Right, right.
それじゃ
Bye
あ
bye.
またね。
Mayuri and Yuki went over to pat her too. Before long, she looked like a little puppy in a kennel being petted. We left her behind and exited the room. I was the last to leave, and before I did, I turned around and saw Fubuki staring at us from the bed. Our eyes met, so I nodded a little. It's okay. You're not sick, so don't worry. I don't know if she understood what I meant, but she nodded back. I have a message. I want to talk in private. I'll wait for you to contact me. I probably should have read the other message. What did it say? The hospital halls were strangely silent after visiting hours were over. What was that? I heard a weird sound. Anyways, Suza. Something in the short message made me feel very tense. After I said my goodbyes to the others, I contacted Suzuha. She told me to come to the top of the radio building. When I arrived, she was standing silently on the dark roof. There was no trace of a smile on her face. Her eyes shone in the darkness, and as she glared at me, I felt a shiver run down my spine. This is not the Suzuha I was used to. Oh dear. Maybe this was her true self. Whatever she wanted to talk to me about, I was sure I wasn't going to like it.
悪かったね。
Sorry to bring you out here like this, Uncle
こんなところ
Okuni.
に呼び出しちゃって。
話ってなんだ
What did you want to talk about?
あ、
Oh,
うん。私は
I'm really not good at talking to people
話の
or
駆け
trying
引
to
きとか
persuade them,
上
you
手
know?
な情報の引き出し方とかそういうの苦手でさ。
From the way she stumbled over her words, it was clearly something she didn't want to talk about.
担当直入に言って
Just
くれ
say it. That's what the old you
以
would
前
have
のお前
done,
なら
right?
多分そうしていただろ
そう
Yeah,
だね。
you're right.
うもしかして
Are you trying to break
俺の
this
こと
to me
気
gently?
遣ってくれてるのかそうか
I see.
ありがとう
Thanks.
別に
It's not really like that. Suzuha got a little annoyed and tried to say something back to me, but ended up swallowing her words.
実は俺
To be honest,
最
it
初
was
は
a
ちょっ
bit
と
of a
ショックだっ
shock
た
at first.
お前が
You were so
俺のよ
different
く
than
知ってる
the
鈴
Suzuha I know.
全然違ったから
Wait, what's happening here? Yeah, just... I didn't miss anything, I'm just confused, okay.
それは仕方
I
ない。
can't help it.
世
When
界
the
線が
world line
違えば
changes, so does the environment you grew up in.
そこで出来
And
上が
that
る
changes
人
your
格や考
personality
え
and
方
how
も
you
変わる。
think. Yeah,
でも
but I don't think that
今
anymore.
はそうは思わない
You're still the Suzuha I
鈴
know.
葉はやっぱり鈴葉だよ
Yeah, they haven't said what it is yet. I'm just, this is not the first time this has happened. I just get confused very easily. Steins Gate is confusing. I lack the quantity of brain cells required to play this game. Instead of like, you need to be this tall to ride this ride, you need this many brain cells to play this game. But at least you guys have some brain cells, so we make it through okay, right? That's how this works. No,
やっぱり
I really
私は
am
違う。
different.
オカリンおじさん
I'm
のよ
not
く
the
知ってる
Suzuha Amane you know well,
Amane Suzuha
Uncle
じゃん。
Okuni.
鈴葉
Suzuha.
今日私
I
は
followed
オカ
you
リンおじ
today.
さんを尾行したんだ。
Oh,
尾行
followed me?
そう、
That's
病
right.
院の中まで。
All the way into the hospital. Sneaky. What did she say? Why would she do that? No, I knew the answer without even asking. There was only one reason she would do something like that.
俺が世界線を移動したことに
You realized that I jumped world
気づいた
lines.
のか
あのクリスマスの
I'd
夜
always
に
suspected that your reading
おじさ
steiner
んに
might
リーディ
have
ングシュタイナ
activated
ーが
on
発動
Christmas
したんじゃ
Eve.
ないかと。 ずっと疑ってたんだ。あの日だけじゃな
And
い。
not just then.
今日もだ。
Today too.
それで
And now,
確信に
I'm
変わった
sure.
よ。
I deliberately avoided telling Suzuha that the world line had changed. It was obvious that she would react like this.
聞かせて。
Tell me,
ここは
is
もう
this a different world line than it
前の
was
世界
before?
線とは変わってしまったのか。
聞いてどうする？
What will you do with the answer?
いいから答えて。
Just tell me.
これは命令だ。岡部倫太郎。
Huh? Suzuha, no, please. We could talk about this normally. You don't have to threaten me. God damn it. This is an order, Rintaro Okabe. I gulped as I saw her pull a gleaming pistol out from her jacket. It was aimed right between my eyes.
冗談
This is a
だよな。
joke, right?
冗談でこんな
I
ことは
wouldn't
し
do this as a joke. I felt like Suzuha was trying to revert to who she was when I'd first come to the Beta world line. A woman had put her mission above anything else. She was so desperate it hurt to even look at her. What would happen if she shot me here? You would die to death. Yeah. I imagined myself lying on the ground in a pool of blood. In my mind, the image overlapped with Kurisu's dead body. I closed my eyes and grit my teeth, trying to avoid a flashback. I'd spent the last month trying to escape to Okinawa in the middle of a war, but I still wasn't used to having a gun pointed right at me.
もう一度聞く。
I'll ask you one more time.
世界線は
Did
変
the
動
world
した
line
のか。
change? Is this a world different than it was
以前とは
before?
違う世界なのか。
But Suzuha's hands were shaking a little as she held the gun. That would have been unimaginable when she'd first come here from the future. Maybe she was ashamed of it, because she bit down her teeth even harder. Oh dear. She must have bit her lip when she did so, because a single trail of blood ran down her jaw and dripped onto the ground. I stared at the blood as I answered.
大丈夫だ。
Don't worry.
俺たちは
We were in the same world
以
line
前
we
の
were
ままの世
before.
界線にいる。
本当に。
You're sure?
ああ、
Yeah.
一度
It's true that the world line
別の
moved
世界線に移
once,
動したの
but
は
we
事実
came
だが、
back, I think.
再び元に戻った。
それをやったのは誰だ。
Who was responsible?
ロシアか。
Russia?
だと思う。
I think so.
とうとうタイムマ
Which
シン
means
の
they
実験
finally
を
started
開始したっ
experimenting
て
with
こ
the
とか。
time machine. I nodded.
それなら
Then that means
もう一刻の
there's no
猶予
time
も
to
ないじゃない
waste.
か。連中が実験を
If they
続
keep
ければ
experimenting,
やがて
something will
取り
happen
返しの
that
つか
can't
な
be
いことが起きる。
changed. It might close the
シュ
path
タ
to
インズゲートに
Steins
続く道
Gate.
が閉ざされてしまうかもしれない。私はバカ
I'm
だ。
a fool. I shouldn't have wasted time worrying. I'm done trying to get you to change your mind.
どうする気だ？
What will you do?
岡部倫太郎。
Rintaro Okabe.
私の命
You're
令
going
に
to follow
従って
my
もらう。
orders.
一緒
You're
に
coming back to July
7
28th
月
with me.
28日に行くんだ。
拒否したら
And if I refuse,
拒否なんてさせ
I
ない。
won't let you refuse.
お前はいいのか？
Are you okay with
それ
that?
で
何？
What?
この世界線を
Are you
なかった
okay
こ
with
とにして
erasing
しまっ
this
て
world line?
それ
うるさい。
Shut up! There was a horrible ringing in my ears and a fierce pain in my eardrums. A second later, the smell of gunpowder passed by my face. She really shot at me.
次は脅しじゃなくて。
Next time it won't be a threat. I'll shoot you. She was glaring at me as if she was about to cry. We stared at each other in silence. I tried as hard as I could to come up with something to calm her down, but nothing came to me. Nothing I could come up with that would get her to change her mind. What should I do? Suzuha, Okarin, what are you doing? Hi, Daru. Suddenly I heard Daru's voice. I turned and saw that he'd just come out of the door near the stairs.
父さん、
Dad,
どうして
how? I got a message from Mayushi and Amaneshi. They said you contacted Okarin. I had a bad feeling, so I decided to look for you. Thanks, daughter. And then I got a message from an unknown sender.
差出人
An
不
unknown
明
sender? They sent me a URL that lets you a map of this place. I thought you might be here, so I came right over. And then I heard a gunshot and it really scared me. That's fair. Daddy's whole body was covered in sweat. Even as he spoke, large beads were appearing on his forehead. He must have really hurried. So, Suzuha, what's with that gun? Oh,
いや
Suzuha wasn't
別
actually...
に何も
You wouldn't fire a gun if you didn't have a reason. Duh. Come on, Suzuha. Out with it.
父さんだって
Dad,
本当
you
は
know
分か
what
っ
it
てるくせ
is.
に
What's that?
世界線が
The
変動
world
した
line
ことだよ
changed. Russia started
ロシアが
experimenting with
タイム
the
マシン
time
の実験を
machine.
始めたんだ
You're sure?
だから焦ってるん
That's
じゃ
why
な
I'm
いか
doing this.
このままじゃ
At this rate, it will be too late to do anything.
シュタインズゲート
We
に
won't
到
reach
達できない
Steins Gate. We won't be
第
able to
三
stop
次
the
世界
Third
大
World
戦も
War.
防げない大勢の人が
Lots
死
of
んで
people will die.
母さんも
Mom
死ん
will
で
die.
何
And I
も
won't be
かも
able to
回
stop
避で
any
き
of
ない
it. That would be really bad. But still, even if you threaten Okarin and force him to go back to the past with you, is that really going to work? Daddy's normally easygoing expression has suddenly turned serious. Since I've started to research the time machine and the world lines, I've kind of figured something out. I think Okarin might be right, and it may be impossible to save Makiseshi the normal way. The normal way, you say? Now you're saying it too, Dad. If the rules in causality or the world lines could be changed that easily, Okarin should have been able to save Mayashi in the Alpha world line, right?
じゃあ
Then what am I supposed to do? Daddy brought his fist up to his chest. That's what we're researching, right?
でも
But
もう時間
there's
が
no time. It's okay. Just leave it to me. I'll figure something out. I promise. I wish you'd listen to your dad once in a while. Daddy's voice was strong and kind in a way you never imagined he was capable of. He softly took the gun from Suzuha's hands. She didn't resist. Here, you forgot something that's way more important than a gun. On cold days like today, you should be wearing these. What is it? Larry took something out of his pocket. Oh, it's the Christmas gift gloves, isn't it? He pressed it into Suzuha's hands. It's the gloves. It was a pair of handmade gloves. It was the present that Yuki had given her at the Christmas party. I remembered it well.
私
When he gave her the gloves, warm tears started to flow down her face.
どうしていいのか
I don't know what to do.
わかんない
I don't know what to do anymore.
わかんなくなっちゃっ
Yeah.
た助けて
Help me,
父さん
Dad. Help me,
助けて
please.
お願い
Guy. Suzuha's shoulders shook as the tears poured down. I turned my eyes toward the time machine, a silhouette in the darkness.
俺は
I decided
もう乗らな
that
い
I'm
っ
not
て
getting back in that thing.
決めたんだ
No matter what Daddy said, no matter how Suzuha threatened me, I wasn't going back to the past. I can't look back. Her little perspective thing had tears in her eyes. Steins Gate. The next thing she knew, Suzuho was inside the time machine, wrapped up in a blanket. She must have been crying a lot, because she hadn't even noticed that she'd come inside the time machine, or that Rintaro had left. Her dad was next to her. He was also wrapped up in a blanket, and he was looking at her. Aww. Have you calmed down? Yes, cozy hours. What time is it? It is 10:11. Wow. She wiped away the tears as she asked. It's almost a new day. Sorry to keep you out this late. It's fine, it's fine. I told you before. You can always count on your dad. Aww. Yeah. The time machine's hatch was still open, and cold air was pouring in. Each time they spoke, they could see their breath turn white. The machine was still silent. They could use the life support system in the cockpit to keep out the cold, but she didn't want to waste the energy. She rubbed her cheeks with her glove-covered hands. The gloves Yuki gave her were very warm, and her hands were the one part of her that wasn't cold. You know, I think someday Okarin's going to work with us. No, he's going to be our leader. Suzuho was a little surprised to see Itaru speaking seriously. Normally all Itaru ever did was screw around. The future gadget lab only exists because of Okarin. He's having a hard time right now, but he'll get over it. And then Hyoin Hyoma will revive. You know, the name Phoenix isn't just for show. And when that time comes, Okarin will probably get in the time machine himself, without needing you to tell him to. Suzuha realized Itaru was trying to make her feel better. Suddenly, deep in her heart, she felt a little warmer. Dad, do you realize how embarrassing the things you're saying are? Yeah, you're right. No way I could say that in front of Okarin. No. I'm gonna write a letter to Uncle Okarin before tomorrow. If I try to talk to him directly, I'll end up acting weird again. I'll tell him I'm sorry. And that I'm going to keep fighting a little longer. So I want him to just think about it. But still, there's really not a lot of time left. Not a lot of time, because Russia started their experiments. You see, the internal battery for the quantum computer that controls the time machine is just about to run out. Huh? Seriously? His face. I told you I used the machine a lot starting in 1998 in order to look for Kagari. That wasn't part of the original plan. Of course, that meant I had to use the computer that controls the machine more than I'd meant to. And that drained the battery? The battery's actually closer to running out than the fuel. It'll be hard to make the machine jump the way it's supposed to. If it's just a battery, can we swap it or recharge it? No. Can I take a little look at it? Suzuha nodded and pointed to a piece of the core of the machine. Itaru leaned his huge body forward to take a look, but soon he gave out a moan of confusion. What is this thing? The battery was the same size as a car's, but it was the product of 2036's technology, and Itaru lived in the year 2010. There was probably no way he could understand it. From Itaru's perspective, it might as well have been a black box of unknown technology. A quick look wouldn't tell him anything about how it was built or how it would work. They've come a really long way since the Steins Gate Zero came out. They're only the size of a room nowadays. Huh? What are you talking about, Spooky? That was one reason why Suzuha agreed to let him look at it. I don't think he could do anything with 2010 technology. It's basically the same as a disposable battery. You can't charge it and you can't swap it out. Can you replace it with a battery or a generator from this time? Suzuha shook her head helplessly. I tried that a long time ago, but it didn't work. Quantum computers. Nah, I see. I asked Big Sis Rumi to get me a car battery, one of the big ones they use in trucks. I hooked it up and it didn't last a second. What did you just say? I tried a gas power generator and it didn't work either. I can't even imagine how much gasoline you'd need, and we can't fit that much gas inside the machine anyway. Yeah. Big Sis Rumi went through a lot of trouble to get me one of the latest fuel cell batteries. But even that wasn't good enough. Future tech is amazing. All that power in something this small? Itaru was staring in amazement at the futuristic battery. If only we could use garbage as fuel, like in that one science fiction movie. So, how long is it gonna last? Probably 1 or 2 more jumps at most. That's all. And even while the machines shut down, it's still calculating gravity fields and positional coordinates constantly. Even if we don't jump, the battery will eventually run out. We've got another 6 months of battery at most before we lose the ability to do an accurate jump. So that's all the time we have to save Kurisu Makise. Suzuha grabbed onto Dari's back and took a deep breath. It was squishy, and it felt good. What happens if the battery runs out and we can't control the machine? We lose control of the curved black hole and are trapped beyond the event horizon for eternity? Don't even say that stuff. It's bad luck. Yeah. Sorry. But I wonder what it's like. I wonder if it's calm and quiet like this, and then just stays that way for eternity. Maybe. I wouldn't be so bad. Suzuha. As she clung to her father's warm back, Suzuha started to feel very sleepy, and she let her guard down for a moment. She was sure to fall asleep. She'd been trained to fight it on the battlefield, but this wasn't the battlefield, and she was exhausted from crying. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad to let herself sleep once in a while. No. She sat down and held her knees like a child, then softly closed her eyes. I see. So Suzuha is leaving before summer ends, no matter what Okorin decides. Just before she fell asleep, she thought she heard her father talking to himself. Makto okabe. Th- this is truly paradise. Maho's eyes were shining like a little girl's. Not many girls would look like that if you brought them to a place like this. I was the one who brought her here, but she seemed to have forgotten about me entirely. She was wandering down the narrow corridors where all the computer parts were, as if in a daze. Then she came to a stop in front of one of them. Inside the shop were lots of little plastic bins, filled with junk parts of all sizes. They'd been taken off of discarded PCs and appliances. Each of them was obviously dirty, and lots of them were covered in dust. What's this board do, you think? It's got a beautiful pattern like a piece of art, and it's made out of aluminum. Spooky, shush. Maho would probably try to fight you. Oh. Yeah. What? An IFX008 image sensor? I can't believe it. This belongs in a museum. What's it doing here? Yeah. Akihabara is even more amazing than I'd heard. Watching the ecstasy on Maho's face creeped me out a little. This is who Maho really is. Kurisu spoke from inside my phone. Maho had said she wanted to go out with Kurisu today. And so I ended up going on a strange date with two girls at once. I'm just noticing the date. That's... Okay, so we're close to the end of this chapter then. This will be interesting. This might be another test of Amadeus' capabilities. I've been here a few times. I've only ever seen one other person stare lovingly at computer parts like that. I know. You're talking about Hashira, right? Yeah. I feel kind of bad for Maho, if you're comparing her to him. From what you said, he's an incredible pervert. That's right. That was rude to Hiyajo. It was early afternoon for a Sunday. On a Sunday, not for a Sunday. I don't know why is that for a Sunday. That makes no sense. Jeez. There was a reason I come with Maho to the computer parts shop. Dr. looks and Maho were heading back to America in a few days. She was leaving soon, so she wanted me to show her around Akihabara like I'd promised. That was what her message had said. So we met in front of the station in the morning, and I asked her where she wanted to go. This was the result. By the way, our first stop was Yodobashi, and our second, Soft Map. I'd already taken her a lot of used PC and retro PC shops tucked away in the tiny alleys. Do you like these kind of computer parts, Hiyajo? It's not the parts, really. I just like building things. I used to make plastic models all the time when I was a kid. Gunpla? Did you make germanium radios and stuff? I burnt myself soldering all the time. Huh? I know what soldering is. A mixture comprised mostly of lead and tin that is used to join metal components together. Yep. Me too. Of course. I guess everybody's the same way, aren't they? No, I've never soldered a thing in my life. Probably not everybody. Actually, I assume that it was a minority of people who soldered in their homes growing up. Well, I could stare at this stuff forever. Why didn't I come sooner, I wonder? 'Cause you were busy. Duh. I felt like she was never going to leave unless I dragged her out. I finally managed to succeed in getting her away from the parts shop by telling her it was time to eat. We went out to the main road. This area was close to the station, so it was especially crowded. Thanks to the crowds of people waiting to cross the street, you couldn't even walk in a straight line. The L is silent. And what? Your face? Now then, where to eat? My first idea was MAHO-NYAN squared, but after the way she reacted last time, it was probably best to avoid it. Still, Sampo wasn't a good choice for someone new to Akihabara. Gansen, or maybe Kitchen Jiro? Goko Curry would work too. As I stood there thinking. Oh. Maho stopped moving in front of the arcade directly ahead of us. Solder, got it. I will forget, guaranteed. Evidently she was looking at the crane games on the first floor. Oh? Evidently she was looking at the— yeah, I read that. Can we take a little look inside? I nodded. Maho walked up to the crane game and pressed her face against the glass like a little kid. Inside the glass were characters from @channel memes, all of different sizes. Maybe Maho was a secret @channeler like Kurisu? Look at all the Zupas. They were pretty close, so it was possible. I leaned over to Maho and whispered a magic spell into her ear. Huh?
Nurupo.
Nurupo. What?
Hi.
Huh? I just confused her. What? What's a null? What? Nothing. Forget it. Yeah, he's testing to see if she's an @channeler. Man, what was the shoelace thing from Tumblr? But it seems to be something like that. Kurisu was glaring cold daggers at me from inside the smartphone, but I decided to ignore it. Because she is an @channeler, so she knows what he was trying to do. Yeah, okay, I like your shoelaces, thinks I stole them from the president. Yeah, that seems to be what it kind of is. Hyajo, do you want that stuffed animal? Yeah, it's cute, isn't it, Kurisu? But Maho? What? Why do you look so flustered? Nothing. I'm a little surprised, honestly. He just said he liked computer parts, so I figured her taste would be more boyish. Okabe, you need to learn some tact. Say something romantic like, the gap between my expectations and your reality is really cute. Got moi. But, he doesn't like her romantically, Kurisu. I'm sorry. Sorry. It's fine, really. Actually, Kurisu had one of these stuffed animals in her bedroom. Oh? Did she? Maho? Did she buy it off the internet and have it shipped to her America? Probably. Most likely. Does it really matter? I guess you can tell she's a secret @channeler. What's an @channeler? Never heard of it. Nurupo. Okay. Even as part of Amadeus, she hadn't changed a bit. Hyajo, did Kurisu ever tell you what kind of character this was? No. I asked several times and she kept dodging the question. I'm sure. So I always kind of wondered. Do you know, Okabe? Well... Okabe... I like the way that Kurisu said it. A chill ran down my spine as I heard an angry voice from the smartphone.
俺も知らないん
I
だ
don't actually know.
そう。
I see. Sheesh. I defended your honor, Kurisu. You'd better be grateful.
ちょっと挑戦して
Can I
いい
give
か
it a
しら
try? Maho took her wallet out of her pocket and put a 100 yen coin into the machine.
えっと
Hmm. You move this arm back and forth to grab
左
the
右と
stuffed
前後
animal,
に操作
right?
してぬいぐるみをつかめばいいのね。
もしかして初め
Have
て
you never done this before?
真帆先輩は
Maho only ever plays racing games. Interesting.
そういうこと。
That's right. Maho nodded and pushed the control button, managing to move the arm directly over her target. She smiled, satisfied.
簡単なもので
It's simple. Now you just wait for the arm to automatically grab it, right?
あいや
No,
普通は
well,
そうなんだ
normally, yeah. The arm went straight for the doll, but the angle was slightly off and it didn't grab it right.
どういうことなの？
The CG is pretty iconic. Are you literally Maho or something? Maybe. That doesn't make any sense. What just happened? That's what happens your first time. Maho gave it several more tries and it didn't seem to get the hang of it. Did this zoom in? I think this zoomed in. She groaned and took her last 300 yen to the back of the arcade. She walked over to a game with a red and white two-tone Formula 1 car on the side of the cabinet. She slid inside, still angry. I remembered that one was a CG racing game based off of real circuits.
岡部。
Okabe, okabe.
Huh?
Hmm,
なんだ
what is it?
ここは
Now's your chance to show your manliness.
男らしさ
My manliness.
先輩の代わりに
Get that stuffed animal that Maho couldn't. I mean,
ということ。
あ
oh,
あなるほど
I see. And then give it to Maho, was what she was trying to say. Manliness aside, after seeing how badly she wanted it, I didn't want to try and help her. I took some coins out of my pocket and checked how much money I was carrying. Okay, it's been a while, but let's try this.
とはいえ
But honestly,
俺もこういう
I'm not
ゲーム
very good at
得意
these
じゃないんだ
games
が
either. Even so, I was sure I could do better than Maho. May as well give it a try. Gambare Okari, yes. This is so silly. Oh no! I saw it get picked up that time. And so, after trying several times, whether it was luck or skill, I managed to get the stuffed animal easier than I expected. Kurisu Angi.
よし
Okay. Nice. I stuffed it into a bag and went back to the racing game Maho was playing. For some reason, there was a crowd of about 10 people around it. Wow. Who is that girl? Gallery. Don't ask me. Is she in elementary school? I can't believe how good she is. Think she'll set a new record? The crowd was whispering to one another. All of them seemed to be amazed. I made my way into the crowd and looked at the screen. The game Maho was playing was one of those where you had to clear each stage in a set time, or else it would be game over. With each race, the course got more and more difficult, and she was placing first every time with ease. As the crowd watched in awe, she finally made it to the end of the last stage well ahead of the other racers, and she'd set a new record. She had a satisfied smile on her face as she looked at the flashy congratulations graphic on the ending screen. Then she noticed the crowd around her and her body jerked. Congratulations! You set the record for our store! An arcade employee walked over to Maho and started to clap. Then the crowd started to clap as well. Huh? Maho's face went beet red. I should probably help her. I pushed my way through to the crowd and grabbed her hand to pull her up. Well, let's go. Oh, yeah. I've never seen her this obedient before. We made our way through the hustle and bustle and finally got out of the arcade. Maho sighed in relief. Yeah, that was careless of me. Mo was. I got mad, and I got serious because of this. I handed her the bag with my prize in it. What? She opened the bag and opened the stuffed animal. This? You got it? I got lucky. You can have it as a present. Really? It won't do me any good. Really? Okay. I'll take it then. Mao hugged the doll tight to her chest with the innocent smile of a child. Aww. Seeing how happy she was made me happy too. After Kurisi died, her mom showed me a lot of things she left behind. But this was something that Kurisi really loved. Her mom kept it in her own bedroom. Aww. That's sweet. If you didn't know it was from an @channel meme, it was actually pretty cute. You could see her keeping it as a memory of her daughter. But after what happened to Kurisu's house, I'm sure it burned up too. Fuck. What about that? Maho. So can I give this to her mom in America? Of course. If you think she'll like it, that's what would be best. Thanks. Okay, what's next? Any place else you want to see? Though I guess you wouldn't be interested in anime or game stores. Kurisu, I'm sorry, but can you leave me alone with Okabe for a little while? Huh? She's gonna take that the wrong way, you know that, right? Maho, you finally decided to be honest with yourself. Yep, she took it the wrong way. God fucking damn it. Okabe, don't screw this up. Huh? Good luck, Maho. Bye. God damn it. Hiyajo. There's one more place I want to go. Yeah? Where is it? Is it someplace she didn't want Kurisi knowing about? You can guess where, right? The smile was gone from Maho's face. She looked like she'd come up to some kind of decision. And then I realized where she wanted to go. Take me to the radio building. The radio building. And she wanted me to take her there. I understood immediately. But could we go anywhere but there? Because that was where Kurisi Makise had died. I've gone up to the roof several times since then. The time machine was there, and Suzuha and Daru would go up once in a while to do maintenance. Just a few days ago, Suzuha called me out there and pointed a gun in my face. But even so, I never been to that storeroom on the 8th floor where it had happened. I couldn't bring myself to do it. Just remembering what happened was enough to cause a severe flashback. There was no way I could visit the site of her death. Are you okay? You look really pale. Are you thinking about Kurisu? Yeah, I guess so. You don't have to come with me if it's going to be hard for you. I'll go by myself. I don't trust that option, though. I don't trust that option at all. Please no, anything but that. But her face was colorless. Going there had to be hard on her, too. But even so, she was trying to come to grips with Kurisu's death. I wanted to help her remember our friend. The Ryu building was going to be renovated. There wasn't a lot of time.
いや
No,
一緒に行くよ
I'll go with you. Half of the shops had already been moved to another building to make way for the renovation. But many of the shops on the 7th floor were still open. Six months ago, on July 28th, I killed Kurisu on the floor just above where I was standing, with my own hands.
ここなの？
Is this the place?
いや
No.
事
It
件があった
happened
の
on the
は
next floor.
この上の階
That's what I was told.
だと聞いている
Nice cover. I wasn't supposed to have been at the scene of Kurisu. I wasn't supposed to have been at the scene of Kurisu's death. I'd already asked my Irene daughter not to tell anyone.
上には何が？
What's upstairs?
イベント会場と
An event hall
あと
and some
は
storerooms and
倉
stuff.
庫とかになってる
行ってみても
Can we go
い
up
いの
there?
かしら？
今は立ち入り禁
It
止
should be
の
off
はず
limits right now. But the rope that always blocked off the way to the 8th floor wasn't there today. I could hear loud voices and laughter from above. Since it was a day off, there must have been some kind of event going on upstairs.
大丈夫そうね。
It looks like it's okay. Mo headed up the stairs first. I slowly dragged myself up the stairs. We passed by the event hall and into the back. And looked, there was no one around. Nothing had changed in 6
こ
months.
こだ
This is it. There were no lights on, and the place seemed dark and lonely. This time the storeroom was locked.
そう、
I see.
こんな場
So
所
it
で。
was a place like this. I could see her lips trembling as she whispered. It seemed strange. This was the place where Kurisu had died, covered in blood, and yet, nearby, the rest of the world continued on like it didn't care. Now I'd come back, even though this was where the one I loved had died.
もどかしいわ。
It's frustrating.
私は物理
I'm
学
not
者
a
ではないから
physicist, so I don't know all there
相
is to
対
know
性理
about
論のことを
relativity
詳細に理
theory,
解しているわけではないけれど、時間と空
if
間が
space and
同列
time
だ
are
というの
essentially
な
the
ら、
same thing,
なぜ
then why
空
can't
間
we
と
move
同じ
through
よう
time
に
as easily as we
時
can
間
move
も
through
容易に移動でき
space?
ないのかしらね。今私たちは
Spatially, we're on the same
空間的には
axis as Kurisu's
クリ
death,
スの死と同じ
but the
軸上
tiny
にい
little
るのよ。
gap on the temporal axis means there's nothing we can do.
時間軸が
about
ほんの
it.
少しずれているというだけで手出しする。あなた、
You asked
この
Kurisu.
前クリ
Oh,
スに
I mean the Amadeus Kurisu.
アマ
An
デウスの
interesting
方だけど
question before.
面白い質問をしたわよね。
Did he?
タイムマシンは
Whether
作
it
れ
was
るかど
possible
う
to
か。
create a time machine. Oh, that one, yeah.
あ
Yeah.
ぜひ研究してみてほ
I
しいわ。
love it if you could look into it.
真っ先
I'd
に私
volunteer
が
for the
友人
first
テストに
man
名乗り出る
test
から
about that, I couldn't tell from the tone of her voice if she was serious or joking. She laughed, sadly. Time machines are real, you know. There's one right above us. What would she do if I told her that? Would she blame me for giving up on saving Kurisu and say she'd go back to the past herself?
岡部さん、
Okabe,
クリス
Can
が
you
亡
tell
く
me
なった
about
時
how
の状況に
Kurisu
ついて
died?
教えてくれない？ 私、
I don't know
詳しく
the
は知らないの。
details.
俺だって
I don't really know myself.
ろくに知らないよ
Didn't I tell you that before?
前にそう話さなかったか
でも、
But you know
ア
more
メリ
than
カ
I
にいた
do,
私より
right?
は詳しい
I
で
was
しょ
in。America.
クリスは
What was Kurisu doing in a
どうし
place
て
like
こんなところ
this?
に来たのかしら。
Her fucking father.
クリスが死んだ時、
On the day she died,
すぐそ
there
こ
was
の
an
イベン
event
トホー
going
ルで
on
は
like the one happening
今日
now,
みたいにイ
right?
ベントが行われていたそうね。
We could hear the occasional sounds of laughter coming from the event hall.
中鉢博士
Dr. Nakabachi.
去年の夏
He made the
ニュ
news
ースに
last
なった
summer.
ロシアに亡命
I
し
heard
て
that he sought asylum in Russia,
タイムマシン
and
に
he
関
wrote a
する
paper
論
on
文を書い
time
たって
machines.
その論文の内容は
Supposedly, the
それ
paper
はひど
itself
いも
was
のだったらしい
terrible,
けれどただ
but that made me
それで
remember
ピンときたの
something.
よ
Those guys who set fire to Kurisu's
ア
house
メ
in
リカの
America
クリ
were
スの家に
speaking
放火した連
Russian.
中もロシア語を話していた、これ
Is that a
偶
coincidence?
然かしら
You think? It is not.
私は
I think the two
何らかの
events are
関連性
connected
があると思う
somehow.
だから
So I decided to
中
look
鉢博士
into
につい
Dr.
て調べようと思
Nakabachi,
ったんだけど
but strangely, there's
不思議
barely
なこと
any
に
information on
驚くほ
him.
ど情報が
If
な
you
いの
look
よ
online, you won't even find his real
ネットで検
name.
索しても本名すら出てこない
I mean,
中鉢博士について
most
言
blogs and
及しているブ
websites
ログや
that
サイ
talked
トを
about
見に行っ
Dr.
ても
Nakabachi are
ほ
gone
とんどは
now,
閉鎖してるわ
and all of them disappeared in the last
しかも
6 months.
この半年ほどで立て続けに
Oops.
ね
Tell me,
え一体クリ
what
ス
the
の
hell was
周りで
Kurisu caught up
何が起きて
in?
いたのもしかして
Is it perhaps
今もまだ
still going on?
それは続いているのあなたは
Are you hiding
何
something?
を隠しているの
Her eyes were pure and sought the truth. Kurisu used to get that exact same look in her eyes all the time, but
好奇心で
you shouldn't get involved out of
足
curiosity.
を突っ込まない方がいい。俺はもうたくさんだ。
I'm done with all this.
今更だわ
It's too late.
私は片
I'm
足を突っ
already
込んでしまっているのよそれに
And I've been wondering if
考えてしまうのよ。
the reason we were attacked
こ
before
の
wasn't
前襲
because
われ
of
たの
me.
ももしかすると
Mm,
私のせいじゃないかって
君のせい。
because of you.
狙われる理由が
Is
あ
there a
るの
reason someone would come after you?
私は
And then she paused for a moment.
私は
I have some of Kurisu's
クリスの
belongings.
遺産を持っている
Belongings? Some of Kurisu's belongings? What did she mean? Maho said that after Kurisu died, she got to her home in America and received some of her belongings from her mom. Was she saying now that the attack was because of that? Yep, more likely than you want to believe. My mind began to race. Russia, where Dr. Nakabashi had sought asylum. The people who attacked Kurisu's home spoke Russian. And just a few days ago, the Russians, probably, had experimented with changing the past. Suzuha had said that World War III would be set off by the time machine. The time machine. Nakabachi's paper. The paper he'd written about the time machine. The cause of the Third World War. A miraculous, nightmarish paper which would cause the deaths of 5.7 billion people. The time machine he discussed at his press conference was a ripoff of John Titter's. But the one in his paper was different. I never managed to read it though. But my guess was that Kurisu had shown him the original that she'd written on July 28th, and his paper was an inferior copy. Kurisu had written down instructions for making a time machine. I shuddered. I quickly booted up the Rhine program on my smartphone. I paged through my chat logs. The hard drive in that laptop contained the data for the original version of Nakabachi's paper, maybe Kurisu's paper. Kurisu's laptop and hard drive,
ノート PC とハードディスク。
which were given to Daru.
まさか
Was the
あれの
person
解
who
析を
gave
依
them
頼した
to
のは
him. I looked at Maho. She looked back at me without smiling. And she nodded. Yeah,
私よ
it was me. From Maho's perspective, There were too many things about Kurisu's death that didn't make sense. Maybe that's why she had decided to look into why Kurisu was killed. Of course, she'd assumed there were hints hidden inside her laptop and hard drive. But if my hypothesis was right, that laptop was too dangerous to be allowed to exist. It was Pandora's box, with the power to unleash the Third World War.
どうして隠していた？
Why didn't you tell me?
最初は
At first, I
あなたと
didn't know
橋田さ
that
ん
you
の
and
関係を
Hashida
知
were
らなかった。
friends. It was really just a
橋田さんに
coincidence
頼
that
ん
I
だ
gave
の
it to
は本当
him.
に偶然よ。そしてあなたは
And it seemed to me like you were
クリスのこと
hiding
について
something about
何
Kurisu.
か隠しているように思えた。
I mean,
そんなあなたに
do you really think I'd
正
tell
直
you
に全て
everything?
話せるわけないでしょう。信用していない
It wasn't that I didn't
と
trust
いうわ
you,
けではないんだ
but
けど、クリスのことにつ
I
いて
thought it would be best to be cautious when
慎
it
重
came
に
to
なった方がいい
Kurisu.
と思って。
That's fair.
ああ、
Yeah,
それについ
you
て
were
は
right
正
about
解だよ。
that.
アマデウスのテスターに
Was
なること
letting
を
me
反対
test
しなかった
Amadeus part of your plot?
そういう打算があってのことか。
打算なんて言わ
Don't
ない
call
で。
it a plot.
私はただ
You're Kurisu's
クリスの
friend.
友達
And
で
I
あ
just
るあな
wanted
た
to
の
know
ことを
more about
もっ
you.
と知りたかった。
クリスの秘密
To
を
find
手に入
Kurisu's
れるために
secrets.
あの子のことを
I wanted to
も
know
っと
more
知りたか
about
ったのよ
her. She glared right back, as if challenging me.
ダルはもう解析し
Has
たのか。
Dada cracked it yet?
まだよ。
Not yet.
だからアメリカに
That's
帰
why I
る前
wanted
に
to talk to you before I headed back to America.
あなたと話をしようと思ったの。
So that's why she brought me here. I needed to call Daughter right now. Okay. This isn't related, but let me see what happens. Clicking through anyway. A quick save. A photo line, which was better. This is like the one time with having to contact, MAHO-NYAN on the other side of things. Call. Yes, hello?
今、
You at the
W.
lab now? Hmm? No.
じゃあどこにいる？
Then where are you? At home, fapping the H games. What's up? You don't have to tell every little thing, Daru. We'll say that, provided that you're being honest and not just saying that to say that.
お前の裏のバイ
I
トの
want
件
to
で
talk to you
話が
about
したい
your part-time job.
あれか
Oh, that?
なんかマキセ氏の
You
情
remember
報
any
を
info
思
on
い出した
Makiseshi?
ああ、
Yeah. Of course that was a lie. You could be in danger if I didn't get that laptop back right now. I glanced over at Maho.
じゃあさ LINE で
Can you
送っ
send
て
it
もら
over
えるか
9 then?
な
直接会って話を
Let's
しよ
talk in person. Can you meet me at the lab?
えっと
Um,
今手
I'm
が
all
離
tied
せな
up
いか
right
ら
now.
夕方
Can
で
I
もいい
wait till evening?
う。エロゲなんて後で
You
い
can
くら
play
でも
your
で
H
きるだろ
games later, man.
さあせん家でエロゲしてる
My
っての
bad.
は嘘
I lied about the H
実は
games.
今
I'm
バイト
actually
中で
busy
手
at
が
my
離
job.
せないんだよね
バイト？
Your job? Well, I was lying to him too, so I didn't really have room to talk.
じゃあ、
Okay.
本当はどこ
Where are you really?
手が
If you
離せ
can't
ない
leave, I'll come to
こっちか
you.
ら行く。
I just need to talk to you
とに
right
かく今すぐ
now.
に話したい。
あんま送
I
り
really
火は
didn't
教え
want
て
to
くれなか
tell
ったん
you.
だけどな
I do a lot of
や
dangerous
ばげな仕
work.
事も多いからまあいいや
Well, whatever.
これから言
Fine.
うところに
Go
来て
to the address I'm about to give you. The location he gave me was still in Akihabara. It was less than 5 minutes away. Down an alley, a few turns off Main Strip, all the hustle and bustle of the crowd completely disappears. We were on the 7th floor of an old mixed-use building. We were in Akihabara, at the center of Tokyo, at the middle of the day on Sunday, and still the alleyway we'd come in seemed lonely and abandoned. There, we found the shop Daru had told us about. Cosplay meetup. Amazing. There was a cute anime-styled sign on the steel door that read Cosplay Media. Media, that makes sense. I don't know why I read it as Meetup. Oh well. And Akihabara, we're open. Come on in. I'm out shopping with Luca. Do you want to come join us, Sokobe? Sorry, a bit busy now. Where are you? I'll meet up later. Sorry, I'm a bit busy right now, guys. I would love to join you, though. What happened? I'm about to have a bit of a long talk. With you, Daru. It's not something we can let a girl hear. Oh dear. I'm a guy, though. I can't let you hear it, Luca. You're too kind. It would knock you out cold. Huh. Okarin, don't do anything too weird. Well, you haven't done anything like that lately, so it kind of feels like old times. Sorry, ask me another time. No, sorry for bugging you. Talk to you later. Bye. Farewell. Oh my. The store was jammed full of cosplay outfits. It's Haruhi. Right here up front and center. On the right hand side. Wow. Anyways. The wall near the entrance had the new arrivals corner and popular cosplay sections, as well as cosplay wigs, ribbons, jewelry, and props. The other wall held the used outfit section, and a shoes section stocked with socks, school shoes, heels, and boots. Even further back, I could see rows of school swimsuits and competition swimming outfits. It looked like the place sold mainly to girls, but this clearly wasn't a location where a woman would feel comfortable. The other tenants in the building were all shady shops with names like Drops of the Spirit God Inc., Space Radio Receiver Sales, and Flower Petal Video Project. You ever been here before?
いいえ、
No.
前に会った
Last time
時
we
は
met, it was in a
別の
different
雑居ビル
building.
だったから
It wasn't much better
同
than
じような
this one,
怪しいお
though.
店だったけれど
I see. I felt like I'd seen Dodo's dark side. The shop was completely silent. There was no customers other than us. There was a thin man with long hair at the counter who looked like he'd worked there, but he didn't even raise his head up from his magazine when we came in. To be honest, ever since I'd entered, I'd be worried that someone would think I was up to something illegal. Anyone who saw me would think I was a pervert taking a middle school girl to a shady cosplay shop. Hey, Okarin, over here! Daru appeared from the back of the shop. There had been no sign of him a second ago. Wait, Maho-tan's with you too, huh?
そのマホ
Would you stop calling me
やめてくれ
Taho-tan?
ないかしら
Why? It's cute.
バカにされて
I
いる
feel like I'm
気分
being
だ
insulted. Forget that. Where did he come from, Daru? The man at the counter hadn't said anything, which meant they knew he was here. Come with me. Daru headed to the back of the store. One of the rows of hanger racks holding idol cosplay outfits was pulled forward. Behind it I could see a curtain. Past the curtain was a tiny space that led to a door marked staff only. If the hanger rack hadn't been moved, I'd had no idea this was here.
まるで忍者屋敷
It was like an old ninja mansion. Behind the door was a cramped office. Well, no, the room itself may have been pretty big, but the darkness made it feel very cramped. It was honestly hard to breathe. There were 4 desks in the center, surrounded by metal racks. The desks and floor were piled high with all manner of computers and peripherals. There were boxes and bags littered everywhere. I couldn't tell if they were trash or not. There were towers of magazines, games, plastic models, and figure boxes. And the desk was covered in garbage just like the one at the lab. It was too dark to tell, but I was sure that the figures he had on display were covered in dust. And what did he need 6 monitors for anyway? Each of them displayed an image of the store. Evidently it was footage from a security camera. Given the size of the store and the lack of customers, even 3 cameras would have been too many. Well, sit down, I guess. There's no place to sit down. I'll make you a space. Daru kicked aside the boxes on the floor to make room, then set down 2 folding chairs. What's the deal with you in this shop? I'm kind of like the leader of us part-timers. I work for a lot of underground places like this. And so sometimes they let me use their offices like this. For your secret job? Yep. Maybe there was a lot more to daughter than I thought. Is all this stuff in here yours? Nope. It's shared with the rest of the part-timers. I don't have enough money to buy all this stuff. Or so he said, but who knows if that was true. But, so, what we're going to do is not answer. Because we're gonna get that first ending first. It's from Kurisu. Maho looks troubled. I didn't want Kurisu hearing this either. I didn't know what to do. And then I remembered the world line where I'd spent a month during wartime. I remember that on the days Kurisu was being used by the US military there. I still didn't know what that meant. I stared at my phone screen. Should I answer it? Or should I talk to Daru first? I was really surprised to see you two knew each other, though. I wasn't sure what to say when I saw you together at Main Queen. Well, I figured it out quick, though. You both knew Kurisu Makise. But Maho-tan, you said you were going to tell Okurin about this. Did you change your mind? It'd be more accurate to say he figured it out for himself. Oh, I see. Daru nodded and grabbed some snacks off the table to gobble down. I put the smartphone in my pocket. For now I needed to focus on talking to Daru. So, what did you want to talk about? You know what I wanted to talk about. I'm here with Hiyajo. Show me the laptop and hard drive that Kurisu left behind. Did you figure out the password? I have no idea. What do you mean? I'm trying to tell you one simple thing. Stop trying to analyze that laptop right now. There may be something lurking within it so terrible that it will plunge the entire world into chaos. Hey, are you listening? Get a grip, dude. So you're one of those, huh? No, I'm being serious. This isn't about Yoing Hyoma. Get a grip, dude. You have a grip. I slammed my hand down on the table. The shock was enough to cause one of the empty cans on the table to fall to the floor. Yeah, yeah. Listen to me, okay? This involves Suzuha. Suzuha? You know what Suzuha's job is, right? Kwasuku. I don't remember what that means. Nakabachi's paper. That was enough for Daru to understand. Seriously? I've been serious the whole time. I see. Well, I more or less assumed that it was the case. Daru didn't say another word. He opened a locked fire-resistant case that was sitting on one of the racks. There's a laptop and a hard drive hidden within. That's it. The laptop was a deep red Japanese model with a 12-inch LCD screen. The hard drive was American, from a brand known for equipping its drives with shock-resistant rubber case. The laptop bit and hard drive that Kurisi left behind.
確認だが
Just to double
結
check,
局
you weren't able to break the
Security は破れな
security,
かったんだよ。
right?
まあ僕たちの作っ
you know
たソ
how
フ
it
トの
is.
前にはどん
No
な
hacker
ハッカ
can
ー
get
も
through my
お手上げっつ
software.
うことで
もうこれ以上
Can't
解
do
析はす
anything
るな
else with it.
一応
I've been
依
paid
頼料を
already,
もらってる
though.
わけだが
He looked apologetically toward Maho. She was glaring at me.
さっきも聞いたけど
I asked this before, but
あなたたちは
what exactly
ク
are
リ
you
スの事
hiding
件
when
に
it
つい
comes
て
to
一体何を
Kurisu?
隠しているの？
真実を知ろうと
Trying
す
to
ること
learn
が
the truth isn't always the
必ずし
answer.
も正しいとは限らない。
それはあなた
That's
の
just
考
what
え
you
よ。
think. You won't even give me the
判断すべき情報も
information I
提
need
示して
to
くれ
make
ない
that
なんて。
choice.
危険なんだよ。
It's dangerous.
君だって
You know you were just
お前が
attacked,
襲われたんだ。
right?
それは分かってる。
私はナイトの
I
後
don't
ろ
want
に
to be a
隠れている
coward
だ
who
け
just
の
hides
臆病
behind her
者にな
knight
り
in
たくない。
shining armor.
科学者として
I'm a scientist.
真実にた
I
ど
don't
り
want
着
to
く努
give
力
up
を
on
やめたくない
trying
の。
to reach the truth,
たと
no
え
matter
そこ
how
に
dangerous that may
どんな
be.
危険が潜んでいるとしてもね。
分からずやだ
You
な。
just don't understand.
もし私がクリスだったとしても
If Kurisi was here, she'd probably say the same thing, wouldn't she?
違う？
I was startled. Maho was right. I remembered having the same conversation with Kurisu. It was when we were looking at discern, I think.
これはもう
You're gonna
ちゃん
have
と
to tell
話す
her,
しかない
man.
って
Daru,
何をどう言っても
Maho-tan
納
doesn't
得
look
し
like
ないって
anything
顔
you
して
say
る
is
よ
gonna convince her.
マホタンは
ええ、
Yeah,
納得し
it's
ない。
not.
それに中途
And か
半
it's
端に
probably
関わ
more
ってる
dangerous to be
方が
involved and not know what the
かえって危ない
deal
んじゃね
is, right?
オカリンの言うことが
Only
マ
if what you're
ジな
saying
ら
is true,
だ
though.
けどさ
Daru had a point. At this rate, Maho could very well get herself in deep trouble without realizing what she'd done. Just the fact that she was carrying Kurisu's belongings made her a part of the Third World War, but she had no idea. The computer wasn't just something to remember an old friend by anymore. It was at the center of an international power struggle. Russian-speaking arsonists had forced their way into Kurisu's home in America. Afterward, mysterious men claiming to be in the FBI had searched Dr. Luxnan's lab. This whole thing was on the verge of exploding. And people like me were nothing in the face of a war between nations.
鈴葉に関連することも
I don't mean telling her about
話すことになる
Suzuha.
ぞ。
Are you okay with that,
だ
Daru?
しょうがないっ
We
しょ
don't have a choice, do we? I turned back toward Maho.
ヒヤジョーさん、
Yajo,
一つ
can you
だけ。
promise me one thing?
いや、君は科学者だ。
You're a scientist, and I
極めて
believe
理性的
a
な人だ
very
と
logical
俺
person.
は信じている。感情に任せて
Don't let your
部活の
emotions
こと
lead
は
you
し
into
ないで
doing something stupid.
軽率なこ
Don't
と
do
はしない
anything
でくれ
rash. Don't be like I once was.
これから話すことは
What I'm about to tell you is hard to believe.
馬鹿げている
You
と
may
思うかも
think
しれない
it's impossible,
けど
but it's true.
事実なんだ。
回りくどい言い
Get to the
方はやめ
point.
て。
What is it you want me
一
to
体私に
promise?
何を誓わせたいの？
マキセ・クリスを
Don't
救う
get
な
any
んて
ideas about saving Kurisu Makise.
絶対に考えるな。
What? Her mouth hung open, like she didn't understand what she just heard.
クリスを
Save
救う。
Kurisu?
それが約束
If
で
you
きない
can't
のなら
promise that, I won't tell you
話すつもり
anything.
はない。
So what will it be?
どうする？
救える可能
Does that
性
mean
が
it's possible that I could save
あ
her?
るということ。
You just said don't get any ideas, Maho.
そう思えるかも
You
しれ
may
ない
think
が
so, but I'm telling you
実際
right
には
now
可能
there
性はゼロだ
isn't.
ということだ。
さっきも言ったでしょ。
What did I just say?
判
I
断
can't
すべ
give
き
you
情
an
報
answer
を
until
与え
I've
られ
been
てい
given
ない
the
のだから
information I need to
安易に
decide.
回答は出せない。教えて、
Tell me
すべて。
everything. I took a deep breath and began to tell her the story. I told her about the time machine, about Suzuha, and about the Third World War, and about the relationship between Kurisu and Dr. Nakabachi, and that what was supposedly Dr. Nakabachi's theory was actually based off of Kurisu's writings. I told her that the original copy of Kurisu's work might be hidden on her laptop or hard drive. And I told her that Russia and America might be fighting over it. As for how Kurisu died, I decided to skip that. Maho was silent the whole time I spoke, with a confused expression on her face. She looked like a girl who just graduated to middle school, and who was staring at a string of equations on a blackboard that were like nothing she'd ever seen before. Her expression didn't change even when I finished.
それ
Is this
本当
true?
の話なの
It's not made up?
作り話ではなく
Maho was asking Daru, not me.
まあね。
Yeah.
やっぱり信
You
じら
can't
れない
bring
か
yourself to believe it.
別
That's
にそ
not
ういう
it.
わけじゃないわ
It's just so different from what I was expecting
私の予想
that
と
I'm
あ
having a
まり
hard
にもか
time
け離れていたも
processing
のだか
it.
ら思考が追いつかないの
What were you expecting, Maho?
君の予想というのは
What were you expecting?
アマデウスの
I thought it might be about
軍
using
事転
Amadeus
用
for
のことじゃ
military
ないかと考
purposes.
えていたのよ
Similar, related, but unrelated. Yeah, I mean,
軍事転用
military purposes.
クリスは
Kurisu spent a lot of time at the
精神生理学研究所にもよく出入りしてい
psychophysiology
たんだけど
lab. She said sometimes she'd be visited by people who
間
looked
違
like
い
they
な連
didn't
中が
belong
そこ
there
に
at
やってく
all.
るって言ってたの
That's where our lovely Judy is.
どうも
She said that she thought they were from the Department of Defense. Russia, the FBI, and now the United States Department of Defense. This was getting even more suspicious.
アマデウスで
Can Amadeus
人を
kill
殺せるのか
someone?
どうやって
Huh?
例えば
Well, for example, you could take the memories of a veteran pilot and copy them,
無人
then
戦
use them
闘
to
機の
control
制御に使う
drones.
とかあと
And remember
以前
what I
話した
said about
医療への
medical
応用
applications?
覚えてる
You mean
人間
copying
の脳
memory
へ記
data
憶
back
デ
to
ータ
the
を
brain?
書き戻すってやつかな
そう
Yeah.
記憶データを修
If
正
you
した
could alter
上
memory
で
data and then
書き
send
戻
it
しが
back to
可
the
能になれ
brain,
ば
you could make
恐怖を
soldiers who
感じない
didn't
兵
feel
士を
fear or
どん
who
な
could
非道な
carry
任務
out
でも
any
平然
kind
と
of
遂行する
unethical
部隊
mission
って
without
いう恐
hesitation.
ろしいものまで作れてしまう
Hmm.
うわ、
Wow.
まるで
Sounds like a
ハリウッ
Hollywood
ド映画
movie.
じゃん。
Does this really mean reality had caught up to the books and movies?
私はてっきり
My thought was that
クリス
Kurisu
は
had
そうい
found
った
proof
実
that they
験の
were
証拠
running
を偶然し
experiments
てし
like
まったんじゃ
that.
ないかと思っていたの
Hmm.
だからクリスは
And that's
狙わ
why
れ
they
た
went after her?
ええ
Yeah. Maho picked up the laptop. Its red body was evidently made out of some kind of magnesium alloy, and was a lot lighter than it looked.
でも
I never
ま
expected
さ
a
か
time
タイム
machine,
マシンと
though.
はね
いずれにしても
Either way, we should
それは
destroy
す
it
ぐに破壊した方がい
immediately,
い
中身を確
without
認もせ
looking to
ず
see what's inside.
あなたが
We
言う
don't
論
know
文
for
が
sure
入って
that's
い
what
る
it's
とは限
got,
らないわよ
that it's got what you're talking about.
中身はもう
It
関係
doesn't
ない
matter
んだ
what's inside it.
クリスが残した遺産
As
が
long
この
as
世に
it
存
still
在している
exists, it could start a
それだけ
war.
で
Just she still didn't seem satisfied.
でもこれは
But it's proof that
ク
Kurisu
リ
was
スが生
alive
きていたとい
once.
う証
It's what she left to
クリスが
us.
残した意志なのよ
Can you ask Amadeus Kurisu what's on it? Just saying.
それを
We can't
あ
just
っさ
get
り
rid
葬
of
り
it.
去るなんて
その中身を知る
If you learn what's inside it,
今
they
度は
might
君
come
が狙
after
われ
you
るかもしれない
next.
そうだけど
That's true, but if this wasn't working, maybe I need to try another approach.
その PC のパスは
Surely you asked Kurisu about the
Kurisu は
password,
当然
right?
聞いてみたんだろアマデウスだよ
Amadeus.
もちろん最
Of
初に
course,
試
that
し
was
て
the
みた
first thing I tried.
でも
But it didn't
ダメだ
work,
った
right? Maho nodded.
おかしいよな
That's strange, right?
普通は知っているは
Normally
ずだろ
she'd know.
でも
But the Amadeus
Amadeus
Kurisu
no
didn't know what it
Kurisu
was. But,
それなら
there's only one
考えら
possibility
れる可
then.
能性は一つだクリス本人が
Kurisu herself changed the
Amadeus
password
の知らない
without
うちに
Amadeus knowing.
パスワードを変更した なぜそうしたと思う
Why do you think she did that?
中身を知られたくなか
Isn't
った
it
から
because
じ
she
ゃ
didn't
ない
want
のか
anyone knowing what it was? Let's not dig up the graves of the dead, okay?
暴くなんて
Dig up her grave?
そんな
It's
言い
not
方
like that.
ごめんなさい
I'm sorry.
確かに
You're right.
岡部さんの言う通りかもしれないわ私
Maybe I'm getting too
クリ
obsessed
スに
with
こだわりす
Kurisu.
ぎているのかもしれない
君がクリスのことを
I know you really care
とても
about
大切
her,
に思っていることはよくわかるよ。だがこればかり
but
は
you shouldn't get involved with
手を出さ
this.
ない方がいい。パンドラの箱ど
This
ころ
might
か
not be Pandora's box.
地獄の
It
川の
might be
二
the
人なり
gate
か
to
ねない。
hell.
中二病
Get a grip, dude.
いちいち
Would you
茶化すな。
stop? Mao hugged the laptop tight to her chest inside. Alright, Okabe.
了解した
I
わ
understand what's going on. I still haven't finished
今起
getting
こ
it
って
all
いる事態
straight
そのものは理
in my
解した
head, though. That's
まだ
fair.
頭
There's
の
a
整
lot
理はつい
to
てない
it.
けどねこのノート PC は
I'll get rid of this
破
laptop.
棄しましょう
ありがと
Thanks. I'm so glad she understood.
う。やっぱり
You
大
really
した
are
人だ。
amazing.
君は
何が
How do you figure that?
普通
A normal person would just
こんな話は
refuse to accept
花か
all
ら否定す
this,
るか
or even if they didn't,
否定しな
they'd
いま
ask
で
a ton of
も全て疑って
questions.
かかるか。
買いかぶりす
You're
ぎよ
giving me too much credit.
いつもの私だった
Usually I
ら
wouldn't even bother
否定どころ
refuting
か聞
this.
く耳すら
I
持って
wouldn't
いない
even
わ
listen.
科学者っていうのは
Normally,
ね
a scientist should never deny any possibility,
ど
no
んな些細な可
matter
能性で
how
あっても
improbable.
否定すべきで
But
は
we
ないん
have
だ
a
けれど
tendency to put too much faith and common sense in our own theories.
自分の主義主張や
Yeah, that's true.
常識に
I
固執
guess.
する
I
傾
don't
向
know.
に
What
あ
am
る
I
から
talking about?
じゃあ
Then why is it
今回は
different this
なぜ？
time?
そこに
Because Kurisu Makise
マ
is
キセクリ
involved.
スが関わっているからよ
Maho's smile was bitter.
タイムトラベル理論
Time travel theory?
タイ
A
ムリープ
time
マ
leap
シン
machine? You're joking.
冗談じゃないわ
That's impossible.
そんでもね
But it wouldn't be impossible for
クリス
Kurisu.
ならやりかねないいつだって私
She's
の常
always been
識
the
を
one
破
who
壊し
proved
尽く
that
してきた
everything
の
I
は
thought I knew was
あ
wrong.
の子なんだから
That's fair, I guess. I don't know, man.
そ
I see.
うか。
That's right. Her Amadeus login ID was Salieri. I almost said that, but stopped myself. It seemed to me like that ID held some kind of gloomy meaning to her as a scientist.
で
So what about my
依頼料はどう
pay?
するん
I've actually already used up all the
実は
money
マホタン
Mahotan
にもらった
gave me
分さ
to reserve this
今月
month's
末発売
H
のエロゲ
games,
ー予
oh
約で
dear.
使っちゃったんだよね
お前
You're
最
terrible.
低だな。
そのための裏バイ
That's
ト
what
な
I
んだ
do
っ
this
つうの
job for.
いいわ
It's fine.
お金を
I
返
won't
し
ask
て
for
だ
my
なんて
money
言いませ
back.
んもともと
I didn't expect much when I asked you anyway.
言っとくけど
Just so we're
あと3日あれ
clear,
ばパスワード
another
突
3
き止め
days and I would have
解析
cracked the
完了して
password.
たから
Totes
これは
serious.
ガチ
そういうことにして
Sure,
おくわ
whatever. Maho smiled and turned back to me.
ちなみに
By the way,
一応証
I
拠を
want
見
to
せ
see
てほ
proof
しいん
of
だけれど
this.
証拠
Proof.
どこかに置いてあるん
You've
でしょ
got it somewhere, right?
そ
This
のタイム
time
マシン
machine?
それと
And I want
鈴
to
葉
talk
さん
to
に一度
Suzuha
話
too.
を聞きたいわ
それは
Well,
どう
I
だ
don't
ろ
know
う
about that. Dodo had agreed to it, but still. I told Maho about the time machine without asking Suzuha. We just got into a fight, and I really didn't want to bring this up with her. But even showing Maho the time machine would mean I'd need to get Suzuha's permission, and that made it difficult.
誰
Daru, why don't you talk to
鈴葉
Suzuha
に
for
話を
me
通すのはお
instead?
前から
Before I could finish my sentence, the intercom on the desk beeped.
うー
What
大
is
事な
it?
話して
I'm
んの
busy
になんだ
now.
お
His tone was the same as ever, but I didn't miss the sudden flash of tension across Daru's face. I've got a bad feeling about this. So do I.
もしもし
Hello?
なんかあった
Is something wrong? Tyler flipped through several channels on the security monitor as he continued to talk on the phone. All 6 monitors have been displaying the interior of the store, but now they showed the entrance to the building, an emergency exit, the corridors, the elevator hall, and the emergency stairs. So he had cameras not just the inside the building, but outside it too. But this is no time to be impressed. The images were covered in white, snowy static, but I could see strange figures on the screens.
なんだ
Who are these guys? The entrance to the building, the first floor elevator hall, the 7th floor elevator hall, the 7th floor emergency stairs, and in front of the cosplay shop. There'd been nothing there a moment ago, but now there were 4 men standing in each of those 5 places. They were silent and did not speak to one another. There were around 20 of them in all. Some were wearing suits, others typical Akihabara fashions, and others were wearing military camo. Individually, none of them would really stand out in Akihabara, but the fact that so many people had come to this lonely building at once seemed terrifying. Okie dokie, I'm abandoning this location. You bail out when you get a chance to. See you. Evidently he'd been talking to the man on the front counter. He put down the intercom and looked at us. So yeah, we're getting out of here. What? The other pulled out a backpack and began tossing hard drives, memory cards, and other pieces of equipment into it. I'll take that laptop too, please. Maho stood there, blinking. She handed him Kurisu's laptop and hard drive.
おい
Hey,
あいつ
who
ら
are those people?
やっぱり
Are
クリ
they
スの
after
PC
Kurisu's
が狙われて
PC?
いるの
Couldn't say. It caused a lot of trouble. This has happened before. Well, that's why I keep this job a secret.
おい
Seriously? The other took the laptop and hard drive from Maho, threw them into the backpack, then slid in onto his back.
そもそも
How are we getting out of here anyway? They're standing right outside the door.
連中がいるんだぞ
It's a shame, because I liked this place. Finally time to say goodbye, huh? Despite his tone, his expression was still serious. He walked to the corner of the room. There was a life-size poster of a golden-haired Vocalo stuck to the wall. I wonder which one it is. There's so many of them. Excuse me, Rinton. Well, I answered that. The other carefully took the poster off the wall, making sure not to damage it. There was a glass door hidden behind it, which led out to a concrete veranda. This way. Wait, that was how he was going to escape? Well, this is the 7th floor, right? There wasn't time to worry about it. The other went out the veranda without bothering to wait for us. I pushed Maho forward and urged her to go ahead of me. The veranda was filled with junk, just like the inside. The floor was covered with old PCs and monitors, as well as old arcade games that were clearly broken. There was barely any place to stand. But that meant that as long as you ducked down a little, there was probably no way you could be seen from outside. Maybe he'd set this up deliberately so he could use it in case of an emergency. From there, we escaped like we were in a spy movie. We removed the board that connected this veranda to the next one, moved it down to the room at the edge of the building, and then used the emergency ladder to get to the 2nd floor. It was an empty space that Daddy rented with some of his acquaintances, and we were able to use the bathroom to escape to an unused room in the next building. My blood ran cold when Daddy got a call that the men in front of the cosplay shop had broken in. From there, we planned to escape from the next building's emergency exit. The emergency exit there led out to a different alleyway than the one we'd originally come in, so in theory, they shouldn't have been able to find us. But we were naive. The narrow alleyway between the buildings was dark and deserted. They were waiting for us there, as if they'd known exactly where we were going. We were caught off guard, and before we could run, one of them grabbed Maho. And then there was no way for us to resist. They grabbed Daru and me, twisted our arms behind our backs, and slammed us to the ground. But it wasn't the group who'd attacked us in the building. They were all wearing full face masks, motorcycle suits, and leather jackets. One of them, the girl holding down Maho, was clearly a woman. There was only one woman I knew who'd attacked us while dressed like that. It's not gonna be her, I promise you. Or maybe they're working together, huh? Let me We have to. Don't yell. Do what we tell you. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that one is definitely Moeka, but the one holding Maho is probably Rio's then. God damn it. I was right. I knew that voice. I could tell even with her helmet hiding her face. Otherwise, she's dead. She held Maho with her left arm and took out a military knife with her right. She put the knife up to Maho's throat. Don't do it! The horrible memories came flooding back to me. Whether it had happened in a different world line or not, the merciless voice that had taken Mayuri from me was right here. Mayuri Shina is not needed. I gritted my teeth so hard it hurt and glared at the woman in the motorcycle suit. I'll give you what you want, so don't do it. I forced myself to speak, and the woman in the motorcycle suit took the knife away from Maho's neck. She handed her over to the other men, to one of the other men. And then she took off her helmet. Moeka. You're... Moeka, Kiryu. So it was you after all. Where is it? Her eyes were completely devoid of emotion. Just like they were on August 13th. It was forced off the ground by one of the others. But my arm was still twisted upwards. I tried as hard as I could not to scream from the pain. First, let go of my hand. I can't even talk like this. Moeka slightly nodded to the other men. Moeka, don't be a hoika. Wonderful. The hand that was holding me drew back. I could finally move again. The other was released too, and he stood up, mumbling something. But Maho was still in their hands. I'll trade it for Dr. Hiyajo. Daru, give me your backpack. Oh, right. Daru's about to take off his backpack. Don't do it! Don't give it to her! Hiyajo, stay quiet. She'll kill you. It's not just a threat. But... well, could she be happy if he died over her paper? Maho looked like a small child on the verge of tears. Still glaring at Moeka, I took the laptop and hard drive out of the backpack. This is it. Hand me the backpack too. Let Hiyajo go first. She didn't respond. Fine, then I have to bluff. If you want the password to decrypt it, don't think about cheating us. I put the two items back into the backpack and handed it over to her. It was all I could do to keep my voice from quaking. Nobody can boot this thing up without the right password. Hackers all over the world have tried and failed. I'll tell you once our safety is guaranteed. I don't want to get killed the moment we hand it over. Of course, I had no clue what the password was. If they found that out, we were doomed. Dad was giving me a questioning glance. I ignored it. Keep your damn mouth shut, Daru. You're right. Alright, she fell for it. That meant... then one of you is coming with me. Huh? We'll let two of you go immediately. If the password is correct, we'll let the other one go as well. Damn, that's not good enough. No, we can't be sure the one who stays will be safe. Then all three of you come with us. This woman. I could feel cold sweat on my back. I've never been involved in a life or death deal before, and I had no idea what to do next. Itaru Hashida, come this way. But me? We're told you're a specialist. Bring the backpack over here. No, if you come, We'll leave the other two here.
他の二人がここへ置いていってもいい。
待て
Wait, then I'll
だ
go.
ったら俺が行く
That's fine, right?
それでいいだろう
あなたのことは
My superiors told me nothing about you. I can't even say if you really know the
パスワードを知っ
password.
ているかどうかもわからない。
Damn, she saw through me. I could put the knife back to Maho's neck.
明日至る。
Iteru Hashida,
早く来
come
て。
quickly.
そういうセリフ
I'd
は
rather hear that
もっ
line
と
said in a more
エロい
erotic
人の時にお願い
situation.
したいわけだが
Daru, please. Now's not the time. Daru's joking, but his whole body was shaking. What do I do? They're gonna kill Daru. I thought as fast and as hard as I could, but nothing came to me. In this world line, Daru is going to live until 2036 and complete the time machine. That much was clear from Suzuha's testimony. If the world lines were going to converge, even if Maika took Daru here, he wouldn't be killed, right? No, but that didn't mean I could leave him here. One of the men with Maika was looking at his watch. She noticed it too. They might have felt they were taking too much time with the kidnapping done in broad daylight. I hoped that somebody might wander by, but there was no counting on that stroke of luck. I need to solve this myself instead of relying on others.
誰か
Do I need to kill someone first?
いい？
I felt a cold knife pressed hard against my carotid artery. Carotid artery? Okay, maybe. I don't know.
おかりん
Oh, Kareem! No! Daddy and Maho were screaming, but suddenly it all seemed unreal, like it was taking place in a distant world. They say that's what happens whenever someone is confronted with their own death. And it was happening to me now. I can't die either way, right? I tried asking myself that. I tried asking Suzuha, even though she wasn't here. I tried asking the world. Of course, nobody answered. The fact that I might not die didn't mean I could do something. The fact that I might not die didn't mean I could do something stupid here. A normal college kid like me would be too scared to move once they had a knife to their neck. I'd seen people die many times, and I'd almost been killed, but I never did get used to it. Thoughts of Kurisi's blood came back into my mind, and I almost suffered a flashback. My body shook, and it was all I could to keep from collapsing to the ground. There's nothing else I could do. Hello? Just when I was about to give up, a black van pulled up and braked hard at the end of the valley, blocking us in. The sliding door opened, and out poured men carrying assault rifles. That's nice. They were all wearing gray military uniforms and face masks. Their eyes were the eyes of trained soldiers, from their huge frames and the color of their skin. It was clear that they weren't Japanese. You can see their skin? Where? I immediately realized that this was all real. It wasn't cosplay or anything like that. Those guns were real, and the battle was about to begin. My experience with the August 13th attack and the war zone I'd lived in until only a few days ago came back to me. Everyone, hide! It didn't matter who was friend or foe. Moika moved to the instant I spoke. She saw the attackers and jumped into the shadow of a nearby building. The other rounders spread out too. They let go of Maho, who was standing up, confused, in the middle of the alley. Maho, get down! The man who was holding me was the only one who reacted a bit too slowly. There was a sharp noise, and the bullet went through the helmet of the rounder who was holding a knife to my throat. As he went down, I went down with him, and I hit the ground hard. The impact made me let go of Daru's backpack. One of the other rounders grabbed it off the ground and ran in the opposite direction of the van. A man got out of the van, evidently the commander, and barked orders in what sounded like Russian. One of the soldiers turned their gun on the fleeing grounder. Her body flew up off the ground as soon as both she and the backpack were torn open. The contents of that backpack fell to the ground, scattering across the asphalt. The laptop and hard drive were hit with more gunfire than possibly could have been necessary. Kirisu's laptop and hard disk were turned into unrecognizable scrap in just a few seconds. I caught behind a light pole without even bothering to look. It really all happened in an instant. I looked around, and the Russian soldiers were running towards us. My gun and her rounders had vanished at some point, leaving only the 2 bodies. The soldiers silently recovered the remains of the laptop and hard disk, picked up the bodies of the 2 rounders, and got right back into their van. They didn't even pause to look at us. There were only a couple of minutes between the time when they arrived and when they left. All that were left were little fragments lying on the ground. The blood from 2 bodies. Mahu was lying on the ground and shaking. The other who was standing in shock behind one of the buildings. And me lying on the ground. My heart had been pounding the whole time. Only I felt the pain in my neck after it was all over. Evidently the knife had cut me a little when I had fallen. A while later, we finally heard the sirens of a police car. It was only then I remembered that I was in Akihabara, Japan. The Third World War may have started long ago, and we just didn't know it. I realized that in the face of a war between nations, we truly were powerless. Akihabara was in an uproar. There were lots of helicopters in the sky that probably belonged to the media. We escaped to the lab, making sure that no one was following us. It hadn't been that long since we were attacked at the hotel. If the cops found us at the scene of another crime like that, they'd be suspicious for sure. So we ran before the police arrived. Suzuha wasn't at the lab. Maybe she sensed what was going on outside and went to check on the time machine. We held our breath and waited. It felt like if we let anyone know we were here, more scary people would burst down the door and charge in.
橋田さん、
Hashida,
タオル
do
って
you have
置い
any
てある。
towels here?
セ
Yeah,
ジュニア
in the
ルーム
washroom. Maho nodded and brought a new towel from the washroom. She handed it to me.
岡部さん、
Okabe,
首
your neck's
血が出
bleeding.
てる。
Put this on it.
これで押さえて。
Huh?
あ
Oh,
あありがとう
thanks. My neck was wet with blood. Fortunately, it wasn't a deep wound, so it wasn't long before it stopped. After handing me the towel, Maho sat down right on the floor and didn't move. I knew how she felt, especially since this was the second time she'd been attacked. At this time, people had died right in front of her.
大丈夫か
You okay,
Hiyajo-san.
Hiyajo? Yeah. She nodded, hesitantly, but her face was deathly pale. And I realized that she'd been clenching her left hand into a fist this whole time, and there was blood coming out of it.
怪我したのか
Did you get hurt?
見せて
Show me. Huh? Oh. Evidently, she hadn't noticed she'd been hurt. She was looking at her left hand, confused.
あら、
Huh?
どうした
What's wrong?
指
My fingers won't
開かない。
move. That's strange. Maho had been holding some small fragment in her left hand. Her hand had frozen around it and wouldn't move. Soon it started to shake. I grabbed her hand and forced open her fingers one by one. Whatever it was, she'd been clutching it so tightly that she cut off the blood flow to her fingers. They were very cold. When I finally forced her hand open, the thing she was holding fell to the floor. What was it? I picked it up.
Oh.
Oh. It was a red piece of magnesium alloy. It was a piece of Kirisu's laptop. She must have grabbed it off the ground when she was running away. If she held something so sharp tightly for so long, of course she was going to bleed. I returned it to Maho without a word. She took the broken fragment and cradled it in her hands, then stared at it with an empty expression. Suddenly, a single line of tears dripped down her cheek. After that, it didn't stop. She continued to sob. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I couldn't protect you.
あげられなくて
I'm so sorry. It was as if that tiny fragment was Kurisi herself. She held it to her chest and kept crying.
ヒヤジョーさん
Yajo.
きっと
I'm sure Kurisi
ク
feels
リス
relieved.
は安心したと思う
Huh?
君が無事で
She's glad you're safe.
よかったってだから
So you don't need to apologize.
君が謝ることなんて
There's
ない
nothing to apologize about.
謝らなくてもいいんだ
She didn't respond. Instead, the phone started to vibrate. Oh. It's mine. Maho took out her cell phone and looked at the message she received.
レスキネン教授か
It's
ら
from
だ
Dr. Lix.
どうした
What's wrong?
荒らされたって
He says the office and hotels were
Office
ransacked.
あと
His and
ホ
mine.
テルの部屋
They're a mess, he
教授
says.
と私のひど
そうか
I see. Whether it was the Rounders, the Russians, or whoever had first surrounded the cosplay shop, they must have been after Kurisu's laptop and hard drive.
あの PC
There's no backup with the
バックアッ
computer's
プは存
data,
在しないんだよ
right? That's right.
それなら
Then this is for the
これ
best.
でよかったんだクリスの残したも
What
のが
Kurisu left behind won't be used
何
as a
十億
tool
の
to
人
kill
を殺す
billions
道
of
具として
people.
使われることはなくなったんだから
In the end, I got what I wanted. The data was destroyed before anyone got their hands on it. There was so little left that I was sure there would be no way to restore it.
つうかさ
Wait,
ロシ
why
アは
did the
なんで
Russians
あの
destroy that
PC を壊しちゃったん
computer?
だろう手に入れようと
Didn't
して
they
たん
want
じ
to
ゃな
get
か
their
った
hands on it?
今のところ
Russia's in the lead in the
Time
race for the
machine
time machine right now.
ロシアがリードしてるんだロシアからすれば
From their perspective, it'd be
ノート
great if
PC
they
を
could
手に
get
入
the
れられればそれ
laptop,
でよしだが
but they'd probably
他の連中
rather
に
destroy
奪わ
it
れる
than
ぐら
let
いな
someone else get their
壊してし
hands
まっ
on
た
it,
方がマシっ
right?
て考えてたんじゃないか
They probably wanted to avoid a protracted gunfight with the Rounders in broad daylight in Japan. The cold way they made their decisions made me shiver. They really were professional soldiers. An amateur couldn't do that.
でこれからど
So
うす
what do
る
we do now?
できればここには
I'd
いた
rather
くない
not stay here if I can avoid it. Russia might not know about this place, but Moika might. If the Rounders were on the move, the Tenoji downstairs might be involved too.
日が暮れたら移動
We'll
しよ
move
う
at sunset. It would have been great if Suza had come back, but I couldn't get in touch with her. Bath time. Maho was sinking into a warm bathtub. She could finally feel blood flowing through her body again. The heat melted the tension away from her muscles. Her injured hand hurt a little, but it wasn't unbearable. She felt like she'd come back to life. Once the sun had set, Maho and Rintaro had gone to Ferris, the cat-eared maid at Queen Nyan squared for help. Ferris's home was at the top of the high-rise condo building on Prime Akihabara real estate. From a security perspective, it was superior to the future gadget lab in every way imaginable. Ferris welcomed the two of them, offering them food and a place to sleep. And now she'd even offered them a bath. Maho was a little worried about Itaru Hashida. He'd insisted on staying to wait for his younger sister Suzuha, and remained alone at the future gadget lab. More than an hour had passed since then. Had Rintaro heard anything? And even if they moved, that didn't mean this place was safe. That group from this afternoon could attack at any time. She couldn't help but feel nervous. And that made her feel terrified and vulnerable as she sat naked in the bath. She got out of the bathtub and hurried to the changing room to wipe herself down. She tried to put on the change of underwear Ferris had given her, and her hands started to shake. Then her knees buckled and she fell to the ground.
極度の緊張と
This is extreme muscle relaxation after a period of elevated tension and then sudden release. She tried to stay calm by analyzing herself, but that didn't mean she couldn't do anything but lie down.
これは
This is
まずいわ
bad. Alarm bells were going off in her head. She just about given up, knowing that it would pass with time, when Ferris popped her head in. Mahonyan, how's the water? Meow. Ferris screamed and started to panic when she saw Maho naked and lying on the floor. Oh no, Nya. She's going to die. Mahonyan's going to die.
いや
No,
別に
it's
大丈
fine.
夫だから
Maho's voice was so weak that Ferris didn't even hear her. We need to get her to the bed. Ferris tried to pick up the naked Maho, and then slipped and dropped her. Oh no! Maho hit the back of her head on the floor. Oof, that's not good. She saw little stars dancing across her field of vision. Hanyanya, I'm so sorry. Sprawling naked on the floor face up, Maho tried to force herself to stand, but her arms were too weak. Listen,
これは
this will pass
すぐに
soon.
治るから
But Ferris wasn't listening. For some reason, she decided to reach around Maho from behind and try to drag her up. Then Rintaro must have heard Ferris scream because he ran in. Oh dear.
どうしたんだフェイリー
What's
さん
wrong, Ferris?
Oh.
Yeah? Mm, that's embarrassing. She wanted to scream, but all that came out was a tiny whimper.
本当に
I'm really sorry. I mean it.
この通りだ
Yuntaro lowered his head deeply toward Maho as she laid on the bed.
謝らなく
You
て
don't
もいい
need to
わ
apologize.
さっき
It
のは
was an
あ
accident.
くまでも事故なんだから
But she still couldn't bear to look him in the face. Just remembering the despair and embarrassment she'd felt when he saw her naked body made her want to bury her head in a pillow and flail her legs back and forth. To make matters worse, she still had been able to stand up after all of that, and Rintaro had been forced to carry her to the bed. Oof. She'd never even been touched by a boy before, and so it was only today that she realized how rugged male arms were. Being carried was extremely uncomfortable, to the point where she'd squirmed around and almost slipped out of his arms. So she'd had no choice but to curl herself into a ball and let Rintaro do whatever he wanted with her, which made her feel really strange. Now she couldn't even bear to look at his face. Kunya, it was my fault for panicking like that. Ferris was sitting next to Rintaro, feet under her knees, with her shoulders slumped.
うん
No,
いいのよ。
it's fine. I'm sorry for scaring you, in
驚か
fact.
せてしまってごめんなさい
体は平気な
You
のか
sure you're okay? You
病
don't
院に
need to
行か
go
なくて
to a hospital?
強い緊張が続いて
All
い
the
たから
tension
そ
caught
の
up
反応
with
が
me
来た
is
だ
all.
けもう少し心配かけてし
I
まっ
must
た
have
わ
really
ね
worried you. I'm so
みっと
embarrassed.
もないわ
みっともないも
There's
んか
nothing to be embarrassed about.
今日みたいなこと
Anybody
に
would
巻き込
be
まれれば
scared after what happened
誰
today.
だって怖い
Anyone would
具
feel
合だっ
sick.
て悪くもなる
あなたでも
Even
怖い
you.
あ
Yeah,
そう
I see.
今夜はもう休む
Get some rest for now, yeah?
事件
You
の
can
こと
think
とか
about what
こ
happened
れから
after
どう
you're
するか
going
と
to
か
and what you're
難
going
し
to
い
do
話
next
は
after you're
元気
feeling
になって
better.
から考えるといいにゃそうね
That's right.
ええ
Yeah,
そう
that's
す
what
るわ
I'll do.
ありがとう
Thank you. Maho closed her eyes. The lights went out and Rentaro and Ferris left the room. She lay on the bed and tried not to think about anything. She could hear the pounding of her heart. It would get louder and then softer. The rhythm was very strange. And she could hear a kind of static noise mixed in with her heartbeat like a broken TV. Was it exhaustion-induced tinnitus? Whatever it was. Once she noticed it, she couldn't sleep.
そういえば
Come to think of it,
岡部さんが
Okabe
精
said he
神安
was
定
taking
剤
some
を服用しているって言
tranquilizers.
ってたわね
That's a really weird way to just say anxiety medicine. She wasn't supposed to do this, but if she looked at their ingredients, she could tell what medications had what effect. So, should she take a look and have him lend her some? If that was impossible, she could at least get some over-the-counter antihistamines to use as a sleep aid. She turned over.
大声を出さないで
Don't yell.
言うこと
Do
を
what I
聞
tell
いて
you. Otherwise,
さもないと
you're dead.
命はない
That's nice. Suddenly, she heard a voice break through the unpleasant noise. She gulped and leapt out of bed. Terror-stricken, Maho tried to crawl to the door, but her legs wouldn't move like she wanted to. She couldn't stand up. The voice in her ears followed her wherever she went. It was like a wild animal toying with its prey. All of the hairs on her body were standing up on end. Her jaw was chattering so hard she bit her tongue. Oof. She desperately crawled across the carpet and towards the door.
一人殺してみ
Do
せ
I
れ
have
ば
to kill one of you?
いい
So stop. No. No. You get the idea. Yaja, wake up. She woke up to find herself being violently shaken by the shoulders. She looked around the room, panting. She was in bed, and Rentaro was looking down at her. Her whole body was sweaty and she felt sick. There was a burning sensation deep in her stomach. What's wrong? Someone's here. Nintaro looked around. Ferris came a moment later, as well as the older man who was her butler, but they were simply standing at the entrance of the room, concerned.
きっと
I'm sure it was just a bad
悪い夢を
dream.
見たんだ
The antique clock on the shelf had said that at some point it had gone past 1 a.m. Not quite yet for us, but getting there. She must have slept for hours without realizing it. Yeah,
そうね
you're right.
夢
I guess it was just a dream.
だったみたい
She took a painful breath and wiped the sweat off her forehead without realizing that she sounded like a little child. She sent Ferris and the butler back to their rooms. Rentaro brought her a towel from the washroom.
ひどい汗だ
You're really sweating.
拭
You
いた
should
方が
wipe
いい
yourself down. She did as he said and wiped the beads of sweat off her face, chest, and limbs. As she was deciding whether or not to wipe the inside of her pajamas, Rentaro took the hint and turned around. I also miss Marika and Maho being besties. That was really nice. It was a sweet, fun time.
俺も自分の部屋に
I'm
戻
going
るが
back to my room. Call
何
me
か
anytime if you need something.
いつでも声をかけてくれ
Um,
あ
hmm.
えっと
How's
橋田さんは
Hashida?
あ
Oh,
さっき
I
連
just
絡が
got
来た
word.
よ
He met up with
鈴葉と
Suzuha.
合流したって
そ
I
う
see.
それじゃ
Good night. Ninjara was about to leave her bedside, but Maho, and she couldn't believe she was doing this, reached out and grabbed the hem of his shirt without thinking. But wait. But
お願い
please, it doesn't have to
少
be
しだ
for
けでいい
long.
からここに
Just stay here.
いて
部屋長さん
Yazo,
一人に
don't leave me alone.
しな
Maho was surprised by the words she was saying, but the thought of spending this terrible night all by herself was too much for her. Rintaro must have understood how she felt, because he nodded without smiling.
わかった。
Fine.
眠
I'll
る
stay
ま
with
で
you till you fall
一
asleep.
緒にいるよ。
ありがとう。
Thanks. Sorry for
わがまま言っ
asking you
て
to do this.
ごめんなさい。
いや、
No,
いいんだ。
that's fine.
どう
I
せ
had
俺
a hell
も
of a time
な
getting
か
to
なか寝
sleep
つけなかったし
myself.
後ろ向いてるから
I'll turn around.
汗だ
So
け
at
は
least
ちゃん
wipe
と
off
拭くと
the
いい。
sweat.
ええ。
Okay. While Rintaro stared back at the door, she took off her pajamas and wiped off the thick layer of sweat that covered her whole body. She tried to put her pajamas on again, but they were too drenched for her to want to wear them. She had no choice but to dive back under the covers in nothing but her underwear and bring the comforter way above her chest.
もういい
It's
わ。
okay now. Amidst the dim glow of the nightlight, Rintaro brought a chair to the side of the bed and sat down.
ここで見張ってるか
I'll be
ら
watching over you right
何も
here,
怖がらなくていい。
so you don't need to worry about a
こ
thing.
れなら安心
You
だ。
know you'll be safe, right?
不安か？
You worried?
うん、
No,
大
I'm
丈夫。
fine. Maho's face felt hot from some feeling that she didn't understand. She sank deeper under the blanket and turned away from Rintaro. He softly closed her eyes. She could feel his presence behind her. The two of them stopped talking, and the only noise was the distant sounds of night coming from behind the curtain. How long did they spend like that? Just as she was about to fall asleep into a light sleep, she heard a soft voice in her ears.
ヒヤジョンさ
Yaja,
ん、まだ
are you still awake?
起きてる。
Huh? Yeah. She felt herself waking up again. She opened her eyes and turned back toward Rintaro, only to see him staring toward the window. It was as if he was trying to see some sight that lay beyond it. His profile is so handsome. Oh. For some reason, that was the thought that came to her.
どうか
What's wrong?
したの？
Rintaro seemed unwilling to talk, so Maho decided to speak first. He swallowed loudly.
本当
I really
は
meant to tell you this a lot
ずっと
sooner,
言おうと思ってた。けど
but I didn't have the courage.
勇気がなかった。
I'm sorry.
何のこと？
What are you talking about?
俺は
I... There's one thing.
一つだけ
一つだけ。
One thing.
君に
One thing I haven't told you.
重大なことを隠している。
Maho leaned forward, not caring that he might see her chest.
さっき
I told you about the
話したよな。
other world light, and that Kurisu
別の
I
世界
met
線
there,
のことや
the Kurisu I met there,
そこで出会っ
about the
た
time machine
クリス
and
の
the
こと。
time leaps.
タイム
ええ。
Yeah,
クリスと
about Kurisu
その
and her
父親の
dad.
ことも
Yeah,
あの時
and there's actually one more thing I
本当は
should
もう一つ
told you,
でも
but
どうし
I
ても
just couldn't.
言い出せなかった。
His head was slumping forward in the chair. Maho waited silently for his next words. Despite the late hour, she heard a helicopter in the distance. For some reason, it sounded really loud. That's concerning. She hadn't seen the news, but it was possible that the media was still talking about the gun battle that had taken place this afternoon.
これは
This was something I needed to tell you,
君
and
にだ
you
けは
alone.
絶対に話すべきことだったのに。
When he finally spoke, His expression was unlike any look she'd ever seen on his face before. It was pained, sad, and suffering, like someone at the bottom of a deep, dark place. And yet there was something in his eyes that hinted at incredible self-hatred and rage.
岡部さん
Okabe. Suddenly her chest felt like it was about to burst from pain. She didn't know where the pain was coming from, but she wanted Rintaro to stop looking like that. That day, at the radio building, the one who killed Kurisu was...
クリスを
His hands were forming some kind of shape, like he was holding an invisible knife.
クリスを
The one who killed Kurisu was...
殺したのは
Enough! She screamed, unable to take it anymore. She rolled out of bed, forgetting how she was dressed, or I guess was undressed, and covered Rintaro's hands with her own. That's enough! Enough! You don't need to say anymore. I believe you, so you don't need to tell me.
だから話さなくていいいつか
Someday, when the time comes, I'm gonna make you tell me whether you want to or not. But that time isn't now.
それは今じゃない その時が来るま
Until
では
that time comes,
口を
keep
つ
your
ぐ
mouth
んでいき
shut.
なさい
She strengthened her grip and forced him to let go of the invisible knife. Rintaro nodded without saying another word. They simply stared at each other for a while. Maho couldn't look away from his gaze. It was as if he was clinging to something, or wandering in search of salvation. Oh dear. She sneezed. You're going to catch a cold.
引くぞ
And it was only then that she realized that she was holding Rintaro's hands while wearing next to nothing. Rintaro looked a little embarrassed. I'm sorry. She quickly jumped back in the blankets. She curled up into a ball and tore at her hair, screaming inside her mind. She let a boy see her naked not once, but twice. Now, is this the same boy? I don't know.
私
And this time,
今度こそ
I'm
も
going to
う
bed.
寝るわ
邪魔して
Sorry for bothering you.
邪魔だなん
You're
て
not bothering me at all.
思ってないわよでも
But never
さっき
bring
の
that up
話は
again.
この場限りにしていいいい
Okay.
あ
Yeah.
ありがと
Thanks,
う
Hiajo.
ヒアジョさん
お礼なんて
I haven't done anything
言
that
わ
you
れ
should
る筋
thank
合い
me
はない
for.
わそれじゃあ
Anyway, good night.
おやすみなさい
おやすみ
Good night. The room got quiet again. The adrenaline rush kept Maho awake. After a while, she heard snores coming from Rintaro's direction. Evidently, he'd fallen asleep. He must have been tired. He went through the same attack that Maho had. Of course he was. His breathing wasn't peaceful at all. It was pained. He may have been in the grip of some terrible nightmare. Maho hesitated several times, but finally she turned over and stretched out her hand from the blankets. She softly touched the backside of his hand. She felt its warmth on her fingertips.
クリスは
What did Kurisu call
あなた
you?
のことを
I wonder.
なんて呼んでいたのかしら
Okabe?
岡部さん
Okabe? Yep, that's it.
それとも
Or
凛太郎
was it Rintaro?
だったのかな
Maybe. She didn't know, but it didn't matter.
しっかりしなさい
Hang in there. Rintaro
岡部
Okabe.
凛太郎
Is the man I fell in love with really that weak? Huh? You fell in love with him? Slow down, sweetie. Well, I guess it hasn't... Okay, never mind. I'm pretty sure you've known him for longer than Rentaro knew Kurisu, technically. Lots of time leaps there. They've been through a lot, but like still. Kind of short time frame anyway. She tried to think about how Kurisu would say those words. Oh, okay, maybe she was thinking about Kurisu then? Not herself? Now I'm just confused. And eventually, Rentado's breathing started to become more peaceful. Relieved, she let go, and then she changed her mind and grabbed the hem of his shirt again. She felt embarrassed, as if she were as a little kid, but at the same time she felt like now she might not have any more nightmares. No. That night, for the first time in a very long while, she dreamed of a smiling Kurisu. Cute. Maho and I stayed at Ferris's house for several days after that. Now that Kurisu's computer was destroyed, the odds that anyone would come after us had gone way down, but there was still a chance. Just to be extra careful, I stayed away from the lab. Maho, Rintaro. Dr. looked a little thinner since the last time I'd seen him. Professor, I'm so glad you're safe. You too, Maho. Sounds like you had a rough time. Dr. looks in it and held Maho tightly in his huge arms. And squeezed her so hard. The difference in size between them was so great that Maho looked like some kind of stuffed animal. Professor, that hurts. You're hurting me. Dr. looks and Maho were leaving the country in the afternoon on a weekday, so I was the only one who could see them off. Since I've been with Maho the whole time, instead of only seeing them off, and actually just brought her there. Maho, after all, was the kind of person who was incapable of getting to an airport on her own. It was amazing she survived this long, given her lack of basic skills. We held Maho's goodbye party last night at Ferris's house. Ferris was there, and so were Mayuri and Daru, and the others from the Christmas party. All were sad to see her go. Rintaro, thanks for staying with Maho. You've really been a great help. No. Not at all. So, when can you come to my lab? Oh boy. Yeah? He wasn't kidding about that, huh? I'll study hard so I can go as soon as possible. Can I contact you when I'm ready? Of course. I'll be waiting. No. He smiled as he took my hand and shook it. I was really glad to hear it. After meeting Amadeus, my desire to go to Victorchondria had only increased. Let me say thanks, Okabe. Really? If it weren't for you, I might not even be alive right now. You're exaggerating. No, I mean it. I'm really grateful. I'll be waiting for you too, so do your best. Ganbatte. Yeah, you too. Good luck with your research. So, Rintaro, as we discussed previously, I'm going to be revoking your access rights for Amadeus today. Oh, okay. That's fine, right? Yes. Evidently, they couldn't leave me with access to Amadeus after they left the country. I was only supposed to test her during their stay here anyway. Want to say a final goodbye to Kurisu? Yeah, you're right. Can I say something to her quick? Of course. I tapped the icon for Amadeus. What? Do I get a goodbye too? Of course. Kurisu was expressionless for some reason. I guess so. Do you not need one? You said goodbye to Maho before me, right?
ちゃんとしたわよ。
He did. Maho interjected before I could speak. I hope so. Kurisu was inside my screen. Was it a good thing that I'd spoken to her like this? Or a bad thing? In the end, I knew I needed to forget about Kurisu Makise, but I couldn't. I couldn't escape from this curse.
アクセス権がなくなったら
Once I lose access rights, we won't be able to see each other anymore, will we? Well, I am slightly grateful that you gave me someone to talk to. There's a chance you're going to Dr. Luxnin's lab, right? I'll make sure to remember you until we meet again. No. You're such a tsundere. Tsundere? What's that? Don't use words I don't understand. Then why is your face red?
この子
She's blushing. Kurisu is just very shy. Jeez, not you too, Professor.
元気で
Stay
と
healthy.
いうのは
Probably isn't the right thing to say. You don't
君
get
は
sick.
別に病気にはならないわけだしあまり
Don't tease
リア嬢
Yajo
さん
too
のことから
much.
かうなよ
Right, right. You don't need to tell me. I already know.
それならいいんだ
I hope so. I hope someday your smile doesn't look so sad. Oof. I hope someday you can smile for real. I guess even an AI could see right through me. Kurisu Makise really was one hell of a woman. Bye.
あ
Yeah. Kurisu disappeared from my screen. I turned to Dr. Luxnin and nodded, deleting the Amadeus icon from my screen. We'll handle the paperwork for the access revocation on our own later. Thanks for your help with the testing. We got some really valuable data.
こちらこそ
No, thank
ありが
you.
とうございました
I bowed deeply to both Maho and Dr. Luxnin. As I watched their plane take off into the distance, I noticed that it felt like there was a hole in my heart. I clutched my phone tightly. Its connection to Amadeus was gone. Here we go.
Kagari-chan.
That's it. That's the Steins gate. Oh, I messed up. I'm en route to the true ending and mighty ending. Oops. I meant to get to the other ending first. Oh well. It's fine. It's fine. Like, we have this other save from almost 2 hours before. That's nice. That we'll go back to that next week. Get that ending first, because I don't want to get the true ending or mighty ending before getting that other one. So, lesson learned. I'm a bit of a doof, but we already knew that. But with our saves done, we can go to the title menu. Yeah, bye bye YouTube.